The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast.
What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. I think this is episode number 135. I'm not that smart, but I think it's 135. Might be 136. Hell, I don't remember, but I think it's 135. We are live, as always, on YouTube, and we want to say hello to everybody out there. If you're joining us live, then say something in the chat. We don't know if you're out there unless you say something. If you're watching in replay or listening in podcast form, make sure you say hello, where you're from, especially if you're new, in the comment section down below. Before we get going, we asked you guys, if you want to ask any questions, make sure you tag myself or Clover or whoever jumps else in the panel. Tag us with a question. We'll try to get it answered. Or you can obviously text it to the phone number down below. The Ghost Tactical Hotline is 530-364-4678. So we're going to have some fun tonight talking about accessorizing, maybe upgrading AR platform rifles for those that are out there that maybe be getting into their first one or really kind of try to keep them stock and are looking to accessorize or upgrade and all of that stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we're out there, let's go ahead and say hello to the crazies out there, the people that literally have nothing else in the world to do besides watch this crap. So we thank everybody for out there for watching and participating. So Kingpin was out there. I think he was first. Calaveras was out there. Chaz Miller said, "This looks fun." We hope so. We hope you keep you entertained. Nighthog's out there. Just Plinkins out there. G23's out there. A little discussion going back and forth out there between different people. Gun Loving Grandpa, what's up, Buck? I think I said Nighthog. If I did, Nighthog is definitely out there. Mystic Guns is out there. Consolidated 1776. Let's see. Joe Ziola, what's up, Joe? Jason Stewart, Big JS is out there. Let's see here. Rich White, the 1% is out there. Gizzard Gary. What's up, Gary? Gary's been doing some Word from the Bird videos he's been doing the last couple of days. If you haven't checked that out, go check it out as well. And I want to do a shout out real quick to G23, and he's been doing some live streams on Saturdays the last few weeks. I want to say he's probably done 4 or 5 of them by now, but on Saturday afternoon, I think at like 5 Central, 6 Eastern, go check out G23. They're doing some live shows. And if you like 3 to 4 hour like marathon chats, he's your guy. He is your guy. Let's see here. Who else is out there before we get going? Weston's out there. What's up, Wes? And Midnight Range is out there. Southpaw's out there. Midnight Range had a great chat Sunday night. It was interesting there for a while. Just say that. Hosan's out there, or Josan. I don't call him Hosan, but he's out there. And all of that. So let's bring in our good buddy and partner in crime and a lot of this stuff. And you guys might know him, I don't know. Some people have, some people haven't. But, if you're anybody who's anybody, you know this guy. He is the Tactical Virus from the great state of Texas. What's up, Clover?
It's Josan.
Josan? Okay.
Yeah, I just know that because I know his real name. So it's definitely Joe Son. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Some people, it could be Hosan.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm just, why not clarify?
I appreciate you clearing it up. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And then, he talked about Gizzard. I watched his, whatever bird is the word, bird, whatever video earlier. It kind of inspired me. I think I'm going to cut one of those this week. Kind of similar. I'm going to copy his just a little bit. I think it was really neat how he kind of extended the olive branch to the new firearm owners or whatever in that, and kind of told his story and all. And I thought, that's kind of cool. I'm going to do that. I got a totally different 180-degree opposite story than Gizzard does. I won't give away his story. Go watch the video. But
Right.
I thought, that could be cool for us to, extend that, not only just extend the olive branch, but kind of tell where we come from and background and that kind of thing. Make it a little more personable.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, there's been a huge influx of new gun owners, and we're hoping that they're finding firearm related content on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of them are just buying a gun to have it and don't care about the community or whatever. But I think there probably are a lot of people, and I don't know about you, I'm sure you have, but my emails, I've been flooded the last few weeks, which is great, because I've got probably podcasts out the ass of content just by answering questions from new gun owners or seemingly new gun owners, or at least inexperienced gun owners. And I love that. And I'm hoping they're trying to find content and learning more about. And I love the fact that you and Budget, there's a bunch of people out there doing a lot of videos talking for the new handling, safety, different things for new gunners, because we want them to feel welcome.
Right.
Let's see here. Southpaw says, very interesting to get the backstory of how they got into firearms. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could probably, we've done this before, but we can spend 5 minutes doing this. And I think a lot of people, if you've been watching my channel and know me at all, people know that I didn't get into firearms until I was 19, went to boot camp for the Marine Corps. And I'd shot maybe a couple 22 shooting cans or something growing up, but really nothing until second phase of boot camp and fired the M16A2 for the first time. And, the light went off, and I was like, oh, this is phenomenal. Where has this been? And I've been into guns, been doing a lot of training, been carrying for, well over 10 years now. I've been training since I was 19, and I love training. Typically I'll train, at least locally, I'll train at least once or twice a month. Now that's been a little interesting the last year or so, but I try to get that out there. But, I didn't become 2A, and I don't, I've been told that I'm not 2A enough by some people. That's fine. But the 2A side of me, the 2A awareness, I should say, obviously you're aware of the Second Amendment and all that. But I'll be the first one to admit I probably took the Second Amendment for granted for a long, long time, especially being, from Texas and living in Arkansas. You don't worry about it as much as other places. So it's kind of out of sight, out of mind type thing. I would say I got into 2A. Honestly, honest to God, about 4 years ago, and really only started really getting into it about 3 years ago when I started doing YouTube and started hooking up with the Gun Channels crew. And they, the whole crew back then, and it was awesome back then. People are very, very 2A aware and all that. And so you can't help but let that stuff rub off on you a little bit. So that's kind of my backstory. And I know you're going to do a video on it, but do you want to kind of break it down? I know you've been in firearms your whole life, but as far as 2A stuff, when did that start happening?
Well, the video thing, that's a whole different audience and a whole different search bracket and SEO and everything else. So it's not like it's any spoilers or ruins anything. I think most of the audience you got out there listening probably already knows my backstory. So, but what I heard you say was that you're a FUD. That's what I heard. You said it was a long time. You said for a long time you took the Second Amendment for granted and didn't know about it or whatever and all that. And I've been
accused of being called a lot of things in my life, but a FUD's never been one. Not that it's bad, but I've never been called a FUD.
In the traditional sense of a FUD, right? I'm somewhat of a linguist when it comes to the word FUD. But there's a point to be made there. That's okay. I view FUDism, if you will, like alcoholism, and you've got people that go their entire life and, they drink till they nearly die, till they're 30 or 40. They swear off the bottle and they always say they're a recovering alcoholic. Well, I'll always say, and we'll always say, at best, I'm a recovering FUD, right? Because we all started somewhere, right? And we all have to remember back to when we didn't care about things and that sort of thing. That's what makes us who we are. So embrace that type of thing. Embrace your past. It's all good. And that goes a lot to these new people, I think, coming into the community. Don't make them don't shame them and make them feel ashamed of their past where they weren't gun people or didn't care. Water under the bridge, right? Let's acknowledge that. Okay, that's a part of who you are, but that's not everything that you are. And let's move forward. Yeah, as far as mine, I mean, dude, I come out of the womb. Firearms always a part of life. I've got memories 8 years old, squirrel hunting by myself. Who knows the first time and what the firearm actually was that I pulled the trigger on a real firearm. Let alone, pop gun, Nerf gun, BB gun, that sort of thing. As far as Second Amendment, I mean, I'm going to say probably, fairly early for me, quite honestly. I'm going to say probably AWB of 94, somewhere around that time, somewhere around the time of, the Bill Clinton presidency, which, he's one of my favorite Democrat presidents, if there is such a thing, right? And so I think that's probably the biggest piece of legislation. I was a little young when we had Hughes Amendment and stuff like that. Obviously wasn't born through Gun Control Act of 68. So, things like that were history that seldom was talked about and that sort of thing. So I would say, somewhere along in probably the mid 90s is where, the awareness started, and then it's gradually built, from there. I mean, the panic of anytime there's a panic, obviously people get to thinking more and more about that sort of thing. So, the Y2K come into play, and then 9/11, and then, all of this other stuff that's went on since.
Yeah. Calaveras says 94. Heck, I was only 4 years old. I will join the Marine Corps in 1994. So,
all right.
Damn.
Showing my age, and that's so, I guess, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. So it's all good. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a great thing. And Gary's not the first person to do that, but it is nice to kind of see that every now and then and just kind of talking and having a conversation and all that. So I love that.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with putting out like new updated type, content, because, you may put things across in a different way now than let's say you did that same video 3 or 4 years ago, or heck, even a year ago. Right. It could be in a different light, from a different perspective. There could be certain things that you recall that, you could tell it and when you're talking about putting it out on a platform and with search engines and all this other stuff working, I mean, you can word it different. You can word the title different and the keywords, and you can do all that and potentially reach a totally different audience and get through, right, with the way that you tell that story or whatever, to a totally different demographic of people. So, nothing wrong with that.
I love it, and I hope more people do. And I think that, we talk about, and we're getting away from the topic, but this is important, I think. So, we talk about all the time about the idea of humanizing who gun people are, making people understand that we're just normal people and not these weird, crazy, idiots out there that are in the wild, wild west looking for a gunfight and stuff like that. Kind of shows, hey, we're just normal people and we have normal jobs and, and all that stuff. And that's important. That's very, very important. So kudos to Gary and everyone else that's doing those videos. More importantly, thank you to everyone that's out there doing videos, welcoming the new gunners. But most important, thank you to everybody out there just in normal everyday life that are welcoming new gunners to the community, because that is huge, especially with an election coming up in November. We don't know how this is going to be affected, but if we do it right, we could have brought some more allies that are at least two-way conscious when they're thinking about voting and all of that. So keep it up, everybody. I don't know about you. Are you getting kind of bored? Are you getting kind of crazy at home? I've been spending the last couple of days getting my room that we had a spare bedroom that we had my dad in for the last year.
Okay.
And, so now he's gone. So I'm making that into a studio. I'm trying to get to the range more and all that. But dude, what was killing me the most? I need a freaking haircut so bad. And it's driving me. I hate, it's not long, but I like my sides like really short. And I saw a meme today on Instagram. Maybe it was yesterday. I thought it was great. He said, "You thought the toilet paper lines were bad. Just wait until the barbershops open back up." 3 million people at a time trying to get a haircut. That ought to be interesting.
Well, I'm sure there's probably some black market barbershops somewhere that'll fit you in.
Yeah.
They're doing them around here. A lot of the beauty salons and barbershops, they're doing things not open to the public, but doing things appointment only and some different things like that. For me, it's not an issue, man. A set of clippers from the beauty supply store, or now I would have to go. I told you mine broke last time I cut my hair, so I've got to buy another set of the clippers. But I mean, they sell a decent enough pair at Walmart that I could swing in there and pick one up. But so yeah, I mean, I don't have that issue to deal with, thankfully. But to answer your question, am I getting bored? If anybody follows the Instagram, then there'll be a video out on it later on. I built my own adjustable pistol rest. So does that answer your question as to whether or not I'm bored? And obviously that requires time to do. But
you've got it right now.
It's one of them, right? It's one of them things to where, am I bored? Part of me wants to say yes. And then the other part says, you idiot, you're not bored. Look at all the crap that you got to do and you're trying to get done and all this other stuff. So it's weird. Is my routine the same? No, definitely not. Am I able to still stay busy? Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. G23 says, I helped a 21-year-old coworker pick out a gun and take a concealed carry class. I love it. I love hearing stuff like that. That's awesome. Thanks. And keep up the great work, bud.
What it's about?
Yeah. Rich says Clover's pistol rest looks like a chin rest in an optometrist office.
Hey, function
it works, right?
Function over form. Function over form.
That's right. Jared out there. I haven't seen Jared in a while. What's up, Jared? Jared says, around here, the guys that went to barbershop school but never got a license are cutting hair out of the houses. I mean, yeah, that's going to go on. Like you said, the black market haircuts and all of that. Excuse me. I go to a barbershop and it costs $10 to get my haircut. I get it done about every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the time of year. And I thought I told my wife, and my wife, obviously I met her in the Marine Corps, so she knew what I looked like with Marine haircuts and all of that. I told her a couple days ago, I was like, I'm getting ready to get the clippers out. I've got a set of clippers. I was like, I'm getting ready to just go, boot camp and just shave it. And she goes, you don't look good. I remember you back then. You don't look good that way. It's a bad look. So I guess I'm just gonna have to wear hats. And I've been wearing hats, and it's just driving me nuts. And like I said, my hair is not long. I mean, for me, it's long. But it's not. It's fucking.
Well,
great.
if you put the taper adapter,
they come from. Those are the highlights. The blonde highlights.
He didn't have his headphone on. Not when we were talking. If you put the tapered things on the clippers and just run them, along the side of your head, I mean, your top would be fine. But that would get it away from your ears, which it seems like you're bitching about that most of all. So and it wouldn't look nearly as bad that way as if you just scalp the whole thing.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. I thought about going like 1991, get the bowl cut going, and just put the bowl and just do the bowl cut. I don't. The old Christian Slater
look like what am I thinking? Look like Mo from from the Three Stooges.
Yeah. Like Zach Morris, but from people who know about Zach Morris, you know what I'm talking about. But the old bowl cut. And,
yeah.
Cal says your wife says that you must look like Gomer Pyle from Full Metal Jacket, dude. Everybody, when they shave their head for the first time, it just looks unnatural. It does. It's really weird. Go 95 and get a fade. I mean, I usually wear a fade. Like I literally on my sides until it starts my beard. Like I go with a half, and everyone knows what a half on the clippers are. It's really short. I start a half and I blend it up to the top. Now I go a fade. I used to up until a couple years ago. I went with a razor fade. Like the first inch or two would have been stayed with a razor and then started up, and then I didn't do that anymore. But the high and tight, I might go back and do a high and tight, but I can't wait for my barber to open. Oh my God. I know that it sounds like first world problems and all of that, but I got a lot of problems, but I'll say haircuts up there with the top.
It's entirely possible, okay, that by the time your barber opens up, you've got enough to do a man bun, and then that's the popular thing. So why not?
I don't know about out there or in Texas or out where everybody else is from. The mullet's coming back here.
Well, I mean, out of necessity, probably so. Yeah.
Before all this shit happened, the mullet was coming probably since like January. I'd be in there getting a haircut, and there'd be a couple of high school kids saying they want a mullet. And one of the times, the girl that cuts my hair, she was like, "No." She's like, "I refuse to do a mullet. If you want to go get a mullet, go somewhere else because I ain't having anybody walk out of here looking like that." But I think there's more people. I don't know. I don't know where the fascination with mullets are, but they're coming back. But now, absolutely, I can see where the mullets are coming back right now for sure. 7 makes something. No, this is true. God bless. I forgot about this. But whoops, that's not the one I was looking for.
That's a good one though.
Oh, that's what I was looking for. Yeah. He missed haircuts in Japan, massage, hot towels. Yeah. So we have what we call a mama-san that in our barracks, I don't know if they had them in every floor of the barracks. Might have just been 1 or 2 for the whole barracks. Anyways, a mama-san, and you'd bring camis into her like on a Monday or Thursday. And by Monday morning, she would have them pressed for you. She would polish boots. She'd do all that stuff. And then away from the barracks, you had the where you get your haircut. It would cost, I think it was like $2, maybe $1. We had to get a haircut every week though, because we had inspections and all that. But yeah, in Japan, they were so good because they cut your hair, then you got a shoulder massage, a hot towel treatment, and you come back stateside, and you're like, what the hell?
Well, I'm telling you. Well, here's the thing: stateside, it's not. You're looking for love in all the wrong places, so to speak. To get that kind of treatment in a stateside barbershop, you got to go to a black barbershop. Let me tell you something. Black folks, they know how to treat you in their barbershop. I was looking for, there's always been a time where I've cut my own hair and or basically shaved it, right? It's done with a pair of clippers. But depending on, having the shop, having the expendable income, because I did like to tip well, right? Because they, that's a lot of how they made their money wasn't the $10. It was the extra $5 you tipped them or something like that. Sure, and then especially if they do the hot shave and, all the other stuff with the warm towels and the tonic, smell good tonic they put on and all the other stuff. It's amazing. I looked around, I was like, I remember once upon a time, like years before, like my grandfather took me into a legit barber pole barbershop and they treated you that way. And I was like, there's got to be something like that. And everything was beauty salon this and beauty salon that. And they would do like you're talking about, the fades and the cut and the curl and the color and all this other crap. And it's like, I just want an old school barber. And finally somebody's like, did you ever go up on the hill? And that's like the black part of town that no white person in their right mind normally goes to, right? And I'm like, no. And they're like, hey, you need to go up to Mr. Peoples' place. That was his name, Mr. Peoples, up on the hill. And I swear for like 2 years.
On the what? On the hill?
Up on the hill. Yeah.
Like of your foot or of like a mountain?
Spelled Hill, pronounced Heel. Okay,
that's just a cloverism. It's just a cloverism.
But and they were like, go. And for like 2 years, that was my jam, man. That was my place to go get my haircut. And for 2 years, I think I was the only white person ever in that place. But it was awesome. It was awesome. Friendly environment, treated you like a king. Price, like I said, price was right. Heck, a lot of times I tipped them more than they charged me, which was crazy. And just awesome at what they did, man, as far as being legit old school barbers. It was amazing. So just a thought out there, if you're looking for a really good barber experience, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, you remember, matter of fact, a couple of years ago at Aunt Terry's, the veteran barbers for barbers we did, and how they treated you, man. Same experience. I mean, that was every time you went in to this place, same experience. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Peoples passed away a few years ago, and so his barbershop's now all raggedy and falling in. But there's got to be some other places out there that's similar.
Yeah. My barber is good. She does a great job, and been going to her for, I think she opened up, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and I've been going ever since. And the barber shop that I used to go to when I first, I've been going for, I would say like 15 years here, finally closed down. And so I was like, oh shit, what the hell am I going to do? And then always, about a month later, by the time I needed a haircut, she opened up. So I was like, oh, I was driving by and I was like, oh, barber. Once again, barber pole out front. I mean, it's awesome. So yeah, it's great. But enough about that. That's just one of those things that drive me nuts. I saw it today, and it was hilarious. We spent damn near
half an hour on that tangent. So there you go.
Yeah. All right, let's kind of start the show. What do you think? 12 gauge. What's up, homie? All right, so the topic tonight is accessorizing / upgrading ARs, and we're going to talk a little bit about different uses. And obviously, you have ARs that could be for hunting, ARs that could be used for 3-gun competitions, or even PCCs for IDPA or Steel Challenge. Then you've got, battle guns and instead of calling it shit at the fan, I'm going to say the Red Dawn scenario. No matter what the scenario, that Red Dawn, what are you going to need in a battle rifle? Stuff like that. So I guess we can start out talking about just in general for a multi-purpose used AR. And let's just kind of, without being especially caliber or anything like that, let's just say 223 556. A simple caliber that the majority of most people, when they get their first AR, are going to get into. What are some of the first maybe upgrades / accessories that you look to adding your rifles?
I don't know if it would be an accessory right off the bat, but for the most part, an adjustable stock is nice. Because you're talking about being able to customize that length of pull, and when you do that, you start getting into the optics game. Are you running a red dot? Are you running a scope? What's the eye relief? What's the parallax? And so you've always got the capability to adjust that stock for whatever optic, because some optics, depending on the mounts that you use, and especially one-piece mounts, and that sort of thing, you can't really get your eye relief where you want it. And if you got that adjustable stock, you might can go in a click or two or something, and it'd be perfect for you. So, and you can buy them sometimes. Obviously, you can buy them with that. So that may not necessarily be an upgrade, but let's say you get a good deal on a fixed stock, then adjustable stock might be a good upgrade.
And you can get adjustable stock for $30, a Magpul adjustable stock. I've seen them on there for 30 to $50. And you can go up to $150 if you want a nice one. But a beginners, you can get one for 30 to $50 somewhere. Depends on if it's the same.
It's going to require hardware change if you're talking about having a rifle stock on there, though. The rifle buffer tube's longer, so
the buffer tube's going to be a little bit longer. I remember, that's the thing. When I was in the Marine Corps, someone asked me one time. This is a while ago, but someone asked me, what kind of furniture, what kind of stock we had, when I was in the Marine Corps. Dude, we weren't using the M4. We were using the M16A2, and that came with a fixed stock, and whatever furniture came on there was that black plastic Colt A2. It was, sure. We didn't get to fit, change that shit out.
Right.
That was what it was,
The A1 buffer tube is the longest. The A2, and we're talking about the rifle buffer tube, not the carbine. When you get into adjustable, that's the carbine buffer tube. The A1 rifle buffer tube is the longest. The A2 was about an inch shorter, a little bit shorter on the A2. And then, of course, your carbine now, everything kind of went to that, and even fixed stocks and stuff. You can put fixed stocks on the carbine tubes occasionally now.
Pink's out there, Toby's out there. I think Mia, I don't know if I said Mia is out there. Andrew Faulkner's out there. But Toby, if you want to jump in, let me know and I'll give you a link. Anybody else that wants to get in the discussion, I've got room for a few more. Let me know and I'll get you a link so we can just kind of have fun with it. But yeah, I get the adjustable, because a lot of people don't realize, especially if they're new, they probably don't even know what length of pull is. They don't know how that changes your mechanics, how it could increase your efficiency and proficiency of being accurate. I mean, if someone's got long arms or short arms, it's going to be different length of pulls and all that. So they don't realize that. But yes, having an adjustable stock, and the best way to kind of, just in generalities, at least how I was taught, and Clover might have a better way. But if you're Snob, what's up, Snob?
Well, I would say I'm here. You can start over, but I've been listening to the last few minutes, so I don't think I missed anything other than Barber talk.
The first half an hour talk about barber shit talk, But if you're out there and you wouldn't know what the hell length of pull is, and you want to know if yours is right or not, and you have an adjustable stock, the best way is to kind of set that like right here on your arm, and if you can set the stock on your arm and have a nice trigger position on your trigger, then your length of pull is pretty much good. If it's too short or too long, that's when the adjusting. But people don't really understand. But yes, length of pull and the adjustable stock is great, Clover, because that really does. People don't realize that affects your accuracy and proficiency with your rifle. Let's see here. Toby. Yeah, Toby, I'm almost going to put it out in the chat. Says I can control who comes in on the duck. I'll just put it in the chat, and when you join, I'll erase it. How about that? But I want to ask you, Snob, for someone who's getting into an AR for the first time, we're not going to call for a battle rifle or for anything specific, just a general multi-use AR. Is there one accessory / upgrade that you typically will make first every time? And you're muted.
And then I had a hold of I got two mice sitting here, and I had the wrong one trying to control the wrong computer. I don't know. It depends on the use. If it's just playing one, probably not. If it's a save my life one, I'm probably going to put a light on it.
Okay. Yep. Sure. For me, this is just in generalities. I'm gonna say there are two different things because, like you said, I don't know what people are going to be buying, and let's just assume that they're going with a budget AR that they get for a good price. And what typically happens with those are there are no sights whatsoever. There's no red dot. There's not even iron sight. So my first thing, if there are no sights on that rifle, I would get a set of iron sights to put on a rail. Because you can shoot out to, I've done it. We qualify the Marine Corps at 500 yards with iron sights. We didn't have optics back when we were qualifying back in the 90s. So I know it can be done. So anything up to 500 yards, you can still get those iron sights and be proficient and accurate with those. If you want to jump up into an optic, then obviously that's wonderful. But I would say if you buy an AR and you don't have any sights on there whatsoever, and you can get them for cheap. I mean, you can get them for cheap. I've seen some for $15, $20. They're not the greatest, but you can spend up to $150. But there's some sights up there. Just get them to put on that top of that rail, a front sight and a rear sight, and that'll get you going. We welcome in our buddy from Mining Ridge Armory and a Gear Report contributor, Toby. What's up, Toby?
Living a dream, guys. How are y'all doing tonight?
Our nightmares still dreams, and I am.
Yes, they are. Nightmare counts as a dream.
There you go. We're talking about accessorizing / upgrading. We've kind of gone through and get your opinion for the first, person's first AR. What's typically what you do? Let's say it doesn't have a specific purpose, but just in generalities, what's the first accessory / upgrade that you usually do to your ARs?
Are we talking first or just like first methodology? So what I mean by that is first is obviously optic, like you just said, whether it be iron sights or whether it be red dot or whatever, you're going to make that choice and you're going to go that direction. But consistently, almost every single time I get one, I will replace three things. So I'll throw an optic on there. I'll replace the bolt release with a larger for the way that I run, and then I will also replace the mag release with a larger mag release. So it gives me more surface to work with. So tiny hands.
Hey, dude, I resemble that comment. I wear nice small gloves. If that tells you.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm medium, but I'm not bragging or anything, but that much bigger than yours.
I wouldn't brag either, but open topic at this point. You guys just jump in, but when you hear people upgrading and all of that, how much do people need to be worried about a larger charging handle or a drop-in trigger or a foregrip or a flashlight or anything like that? Are those something that you guys recommend coming down the line, or do you say if you're going to go ahead and buy an AR, buy all of it at once and learn There's two different ways of thinking. Some people say get all of it at once, and then you learn just by having all of it on there. Do you guys like that, or what do you think? Go ahead and jump in, anybody.
No, God, no, God, no, hell no, Lord, no, 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 absolutely not. Because each one of those three things you just mentioned literally has a specific use case scenario, a specific intent, and a specific purpose. And you need to train yourself first and learn what it is that you actually need instead of going out and buying what's tactical or what you think you need or what you saw Garand Thumb tell you you need. You need to go out and get some training and figure out what you actually do need. Do you need an oversized charging handle, or do you charge with the palm of your hand facing the ejection port downward to allow gravity to help, in which case you don't? Is your optic in the way of your charging handle or not? Are you going to be using it in low light situations? So do you need a flashlight? If so, which kind? Do you need one that's mounted small and in front of your thumb to use as a thumb stop because of the way you grip, whether it's C-grip or whether it's under or whatever? Or do you want one that's got pressure mount over the top? Are you going to be mounting, any other type of equipment on there? So pretty much everything you just named is going to be dependent and use case specific, or a training and use case specific.
Awesome. Snob, Clover.
I agree with that. I mean, often with archery, it's one thing that I preach is, learn to be as proficient and skilled as possible with the absolute basics first. And then from there, anything you add will only add to your skill level. But if you don't build that skill level first with, the rudimentary basic stuff, then it's aid. At that point, it becomes a crutch. You're dependent upon that. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah, no, I hear. I tend to agree with both of those. I do know a guy that literally spent, he owns a local McDonald's here. Price is not an object for him, but he spent like $6,000 on his first AR, and it was a Daniel Defense, but he went and got a Night Force optic, and he got about 2,000 rounds of ammo, but you just take it down the line, and he bought all the upgraded stuff, and it's like $6,000 for his first one. I was like, why? Like, what the hell? I mean, I guess if you've got $6,000 and that's what you want to be your first AR, then great. But I just think it's interesting that some people do throw all that stuff on there. But there's the reason why I brought that up is there are a lot of people that sit there and say, it's easier to learn with a dot than it is to learn with iron sights. I don't think so. I don't like that. But there are a lot of people that, whether they have astigmatism or the cross-eyed dominant or whatever, there are legitimate justification reasons that they could possibly enjoy a dot. I personally will say this. The worst thing that could ever happen to you is if you've learned how to shoot with a dot and your dot fails, runs out of battery, gets broken, something has happened, especially if it's a holographic. And now you're talking about those things can happen. A lot of stuff can happen with those things quickly. And now you're in that Red Dawn scenario. And not only do you not know how to use them, you probably don't even have iron sights on your battle rifle. Good luck. I mean, because that's something. So I would say iron sights before a dot. But if you want to go ahead with a dot from the beginning, yeah, but at least have iron sights. Be able to co-witness that red dot as well on that front sight. Be able to flip those sights down, know how to do it with sights, without sights, without a dot, with a dot, and all of that. I would say if you're going to add all this stuff on there, fine, go ahead and do it. But the first thing you need to do is learn how to use those sights. That's just me. You guys have anything else you want to bring up on at least sights at this point?
Just in general, don't put anything on there you don't need.
Right.
That's my biggest thing. If I don't need it, I don't put it on there. I mean, that's different to an extent for me for some guns, but if it's my go-to-war gun, it's got only what I need on it.
Yeah.
Well, it's transferable skills is the way I see it. So, it's kind of like learning a stick shift manual transmission nowadays. I mean, what's the point, right? But what if, I don't know, in the next few days or months, it may not be a big deal right now, but what if later down the road, I mean, you're faced with the situation to where, you're involved in a wreck, somebody's bleeding out, you got to get them to the hospital or whatever. You're in the middle of nowhere, and the only vehicle available for whatever reason is a 6-shift, or a post-apocalyptic scenario where you have, there's something to be said about learning a very specific set of skills, right? And so iron sights is one of those things. You could pick up any firearm with or without an optic, and at least you know how to use iron sights, at least. Or you could pick up one that, maybe you pick it up, just yank the optic off, right? Because whatever reason, I mean, you don't need the optic, or you fear that it's, off zero or something's going on. You just yank that sucker off and deal with it as far, just deal with the iron sights.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was just going to bring up a couple comments. One of them out there, Rob D, up there, New York Outcasts, said, dots rely on batteries, iron sights rely on you. That is 100% correct. G23 out there says, are you going to let me shoot your AR, or do I need to just stick with 7.62 by 39? Pards, you get to Arkansas, you can shoot anything I've got in my armory. I mean, I don't have like a clover tack armory, but I've got a pretty decent size right now of different rifles that you can shoot. I don't have the Bud Life shit, but
that's what I was going to say. So point of order here. If it's all FUD guns, is it still technically an armory?
Well, that's true. Hold on just a second. My daughter's here. Hold on. She stopped by after work to say, hey, you okay? Everything good? All right. When are you working next?
Tomorrow and Thursday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tomorrow and Thursday.
Okay.
3 days this week.
Bring the dog. We'll watch her. I'm sure Mom would like to see her. All right. Love you. Be safe. So, sorry, my daughter was getting off work. She had to pick something up, so I had to say hi. But she works at the hospital up here, and they're getting tested for COVID. I don't know if it's today or the next couple of days, but they're getting tested for COVID. So, I guess that's a good thing that at least hospitals are, periodically testing everyone. So
she broke the 6-foot rule, so you're screwed now.
Yeah. You know what? It's all good. I'll take a kiss on my daughter's cheek and get COVID. I'm okay with that. No, as far as G23, get to Arkansas, bro. You can shoot anything you want. I'm no offense, but I don't plan on taking a road trip up there. But if you're around, come on up and we'll come on down and we'll shoot all you want for sure. I've got plenty of ammo.
I'll extend that offer for FUD guns too. If there, anybody out there,
Snob's only a few hours from us. He might even stop by. We could have a little fun day at the range one time.
Right. My range is always open, and I have plenty to play with. So,
yep. All right. So now let's kind of go into more or less, for people who are wanting to build a competition style rifle for precision. I would say precision, not necessarily long range, but a lot of people are using ARs and PCCs for competitive shooting, whether it's Steel Challenge, IDPA, 3-gun, and all of that. So now we probably are going to be talking about maybe upgrading triggers, maybe getting a sight. When you guys think about competition, what are one of the first few things that you can kind of look to upgrade? Because at this point, we're not really accessorizing. At that point, you probably already got the accessories. You might be talking upgrading stuff now for competition levels.
Trigger. I mean, when you talk competition, trigger comes to mind like immediately, right? Because in most other situations, I would say there's far more important accessories than a trigger in most other situations. But when you get into competition, I think that's going to be the number one.
All right, so this is something that I wanted to go into. I'm glad you said trigger, because this was one of the topics that I wanted to talk about and kind of break off into a little subsection here. And people are asking all the time, I'm sure you guys are getting the same questions, not just recently, but probably more prevalent recently, the difference between a single stage and a double stage, 2-stage trigger, what the differences are and what's good and what's bad. And I would sit there, I'm going to preface this by saying that if you're looking for a Red Dawn rifle, a battle rifle, or just something to have around, I would probably say a 2-stage trigger is probably better. If you're looking for competition, then a single stage is probably going to be where it's at. But Snob, Clover, Toby, we want to kind of talk a little bit about triggers because there are people looking to buy those. And I've been getting emails a lot saying, I don't understand why there are two different types of triggers. They probably someone might not, they just might find the cheapest trigger that's out there and not realize it's a single stage versus a 2-stage, and they may not want that single stage. So you guys want to kind of talk about the differences of the two?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll jump in.
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead, Snob, if you want to.
No, go ahead.
All right, so I'll jump in before we get into the technical mechanics of the difference between a single stage and a dual stage. The big thing is, just like we've been talking about with everything else, is learning with the basics, getting your six pound pull trigger or higher and learning that trigger reset. Once you've developed what your particular style is, what you're good at, you've developed your clean, crisp, direct rearward pull of and brake for the trigger pull. Then's when you're going to want to test the single stage and dual stage and see which one meets your needs better for your body and for your shooting style. Also poundage, people just assume, oh, well, I'm going to go with a 2.5. Well, that's great,
you may not be ready.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I mean, I've seen a lot of people have accidental discharges or negligent discharges, super good shooters, masterclass shooters, just because they changed triggers and they got it too light. So again, it goes back to train, then go buy the part that you need. In fairness, if you're going to be stepping up your game into competition, you need to be doing that anyways. You need to have already done the foundations with your stick shift before you go to an automatic.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that when you're talking a 2-stage trigger, people, if you're accustomed to a pistol, you're used to that take up, and that's where that 2-stage triggers is going to feel familiar to you, where that 5 to 6 pound trigger pull is going to be kind of what is probably good for a beginner. You get that 2.5, 3.5 pound single stage where it's ready to go, like you said. And I think Clover's going to disagree with what I was saying earlier, but I think that for starting out, I think that might be something people need to know about are the differences. Before I bring Clover in, Snob, do you have anything that you want to add on the single versus 2-stage triggers?
Well, I've got a single in my coyote rifle that's it's a little under 3 pounds, and I love that trigger, but I wouldn't want it in my go-to-war rifle at all.
Yep.
But
yeah, I know exactly. I hear you. Clover, apparently you want to just thrash me. So
I'm not gonna,
sir. Everyone loves a know-it-all at this point.
No, I'm not going to thrash you. Well,
maybe
I've got a couple caveats before I say what I'm going to say, but I disagree. I disagree that a single stage. We're talking competition, and I disagree that a single stage is best. The caveat is I own no AR modern sporting rifle platforms, whatever you want to call them, with any type of drop-in upgraded trigger other than some spring work and fit and finishing that I've done myself. I do my own trigger jobs. So yes, I have played with other aftermarket drop-ins and other things out there extensively. I don't own any. So with that being said, I don't own a 2-stage in an AR like we're talking about. The flip side of that is I've got extensive competition experience with precision competition and 2-stage triggers, and they're absolutely amazing. And one of the reasons that they're amazing is the mechanics. I mean, if you think about the principle, if you think about the pull on a trigger, I mean, it's measured in weight, right? Oh, it's a 2 pound pull. It's a 1 pound, 6 ounce pull. It's a pull weight, right? So take that and translate that over to a scale. And anytime you're weighing anything on a scale, you always put the heavier items on first, because it gives a much better read on the lighter items once you get a load on that scale. Same principle with the trigger. You've got that take up going, and you've already got a certain amount of pressure in that trigger finger. And then once you hit that wall, now it does take, Toby's correct, everybody's correct, it does take training and practice. And if you're doing competition, hopefully, if you plan on being any good, you are training and practicing. But once you hit that wall on that first stage, then it's just a matter of literally a pulse. I've seen competition rifles where your pulse would set the second stage off. And so you don't have time to flinch or anything else, and your shots are going to be far more accurate that way.
Okay. I 100% agree. I would say for precision shooting, yeah, even in competition, a 2-stage trigger is probably better. If you're going to be IDPA 3-gunning it and all of that, where the trigger that you're not looking to be precise as long as you're hitting a silhouette. I still think a single stage, but I would see where you're going when you're talking precision. Yeah, that take up's going to be nice to have. You hit that wall, and you're going to know where that wall is before you squeeze that off. That might be better for especially long range precision, I'd say.
Let me give you something to think about, because I've heard you say this before, and I kind of know where you stand on this. You ride reset. You like riding.
I love reset. Yeah.
There's really no difference between riding a reset and working a two-stage trigger and the amount of force that it takes to set the second stage of the trigger off. There's really no difference. Right. So with training and repetition and everything else, you're going to, if you like riding the reset, then you're going to be extremely fast in those speed competition situations, not precision, speed. You're going to be much, much faster with a two-stage trigger.
Yeah. Once again, when I talk about my training rifle, my battle, what I really call my battle rifle or my Red Dawn rifle, two-stage all the way. I have two rifles that have single stage. Actually, one rifle, well, they're both rifles, I guess, but one rifle, one PCC that are single stage that I've kind of set up. I'm thinking really about starting using the PCC and Steel Challenge and stuff this year. So I've got that sub as single stage right now. And yeah, I'm going to play around. I'm going to try to find to maximize my best thing. But I will say this. I see more people, and Snob and Toby jump in on this whenever. I see more people using single stages that are going to be doing more competition. Very rarely have I had the experience or seen many people run a single stage trigger for a battle rifle. Like you said, negligent discharges. I mean, there's a lot of things that could go very, very wrong with a single stage trigger unless you have a lot of experiences with those triggers. Now, you've got a question you said, Clover? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I was going to ask, well, I've got two now after you've done said what you're saying, because we're kind of back and forth here a little bit. I don't see it, because if you have a problem to where you're so ill-trained or ill-skilled that you can't handle that two-stage trigger, then pull it in one motion. I've seen kids do it over and over and over repeatedly and be fairly competitive using a two-stage trigger, just one quick pull with the trigger finger, and you blow through both stages at one time. You don't have to ride the trigger. You're working off the premise that if you have a two-stage trigger, you have to use it like a two-stage trigger, and you don't have to do that. That's the beauty of having a two-stage trigger.
I'm not saying that you have to use a one stage. I'm just saying that I've seen the most people that have one stage triggers, the vast majority of people are on competition rifles, whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that I don't see one stage triggers on battle rifles.
Right.
Well, the vast majority of those one stage are on competitions.
And it's important that we think about the vast variety of triggers that are out there. Right. That's going to come into play too, because most of the competition people you're probably talking about have single stage triggers, sure, but they have zero take up as well.
Yeah.
So basically, that's like the second stage on a first stage trigger. There's just no.
It's a basically automatic reset, if you want to call it.
Exactly. Yeah. My legit question that I have I wanted to ask before we close this out: is anybody aware of a trigger system? And it doesn't even have to be as far as the AR platform. I know that's the topic tonight, but has anybody seen any type of a trigger system that had some type of adjustment, like two-stage adjustment, where you could adjust it, basically turn it single stage or two-stage?
Not that would turn it from two stage to single stage. No, I've seen adjustable triggers, but not that would take it from two stage to one.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I wonder why they don't.
That you could put a wall. It was an adjustment where you could put a two-stage wall in the trigger pull process.
Well, I know Clover will know what I'm talking about here, but basically what you're saying is like the old muzzle loaders with two triggers.
Sorta, but
I mean, you could pull the first trigger and it would do it, or you pull the back trigger and then you just got a hair trigger on the front one.
But without having two triggers.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Basically, a lever you switch or a button you push, and then
they could have a little pinhole in the trigger and you stick a pin up in there to switch it.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why nobody doesn't make it.
Why that doesn't exist? I mean,
there's your opportunity to be a millionaire.
There. I mean, seriously, that's something. If anybody out in the chat knows about something, I haven't seen one. That's something that I think would be phenomenal. I mean, that would be the best of all worlds, would it not?
I would think so. I mean, that's why I asked. I was thinking along the lines of exactly what Snob was saying about, old school black powder guns or whatever. And I don't understand why something like that doesn't exist. I've never seen anything. I'm not saying it. Let me rephrase that. Why I've never seen it. I don't want to say it doesn't exist, because it may.
I know
it
a guy named Google.
Obviously exists with black powder.
Single stage and 2-stage trigger combo. How about that?
Technical now, hitting the Google up for it. I figured Toby would know the answer to that. That's why I asked. He let me down.
What you got?
No. So it's in the hammer design. So the sear and the disconnect, there's 2 levels of where it catches. It hooks and catches at 2 different spots for the 2-stage. So I'm not sure how you would physically go about redesigning it to do that selector switch capability. You would have to have a hole and then not have a hole, like plug the hole maybe with a switch of some kind. So no, I've definitely not seen anybody do that, but I think that's the reason, is because from a design perspective, again, it's going to it catches at 2 different spots. And so, compared to a standard sear and release on a hammer, you're going to have an extra catch for it, an extra dimple that catches and hooks.
Well, it looks
probably a good idea to Google one and throw it up on screen. Google like a cutaway, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So,
well, it looks to me though like you could do a cassette trigger and figure out a way to completely redesign how it works. If somebody was smart, a lot smarter than me.
Right.
Because I understand how the current ones work, but.
Well, because it seems like you could utilize spring tension to overcome the first notch in the sear. So it would be some type of an adjustment to adjust spring tension to override that immediately. And then the second one be the actual break. And we went down a rabbit hole. I didn't expect for that. I was just asking. I was throwing a question out there.
Mr. Google didn't say.
My apologies.
Hang on. Let me pull up a piece of software.
People talk about innovation all the time. So surely there's a mechanical engineer out there somewhere that could figure this shit out somehow. That'd be awesome. I mean,
maybe we need to talk to some companies since they've got downtime, right? So, hey,
I mean, if they did it 50 years ago in the old muzzleloaders, or 100 years ago, why can't they do it? And why can't they figure out a way to redesign it and do it?
Now, I have
2 triggers
yet. I think most everybody else in this room, except for me, has shot it. But Caroline Edie says, "What about the Franklin Armory trigger? Does that count?" The Franklin Armory trigger. No experience, so I wouldn't know. Do you guys have
in the binary trigger?
The only thing I have experience in Franklin Armory is the binaries. Yeah.
Well, binaries. No, we're not talking about binary. I didn't know if there was a trigger out there that they're talking about that does this. No, we're not talking binary triggers.
I think there's confusion. I think there's some people out there thinking we're talking about 2-stage, meaning it fires twice or something. Not what we're meaning here.
Yeah, maybe we ought to explain what single stage and 2-stage the difference is.
I did.
That. Well, I think you kind of did, but in a maybe just
let's see here. Single stage versus 2. Let me pull up maybe an image or something here that might help talk about it. Google Images.
The quick explanation is, I'll give the quick one instead of Clover long term one. You have take up and a wall with a 2-stage. With a single stage, you just have a wall and it goes off.
Yeah.
Basically, that's very basic.
If you're out there and you're familiar with pulling that trigger and you've got half an inch or whatever of that take up, and then you hit that wall and then that breaks, that's the 2-stage. When you fire a 2-stage, you're going to have that take up. If you fire single stage, it's going to be kind of like the reset, if you want to call it that, but it's going to go
kind of like a double action trigger.
Yeah,
same
exactly.
The whole way.
Right back to that wall to where the second, when you pull it, you don't have that take up. It's just, it's going to break right there. So once again, we're talking about when you hear about a 5-pound versus a 2.5-pound pull, you're going to see very few single stage triggers that are at 5 pounds. You're going to see very few 2-stage triggers at 2.5 pounds. That's kind of where that is. The heavier trigger pulls will be a 2-stage, a lighter on that single stage. But it's basically, if you're familiar with reset, it's that single stage is like shooting from reset all the time, basically. There's not really any great pictures out there. I don't know if anybody has any questions out there about single versus 2-stage triggers. Let us know. We can talk about a little little bit more. But yeah, I thought it was interesting because a lot of people, I get a lot of emails and a lot of comments on triggers. And I was actually going to do a video on triggers and different things, but it's hard to put in a video. It had to be a half an hour long video to explain different things. Kind of what we're doing right now is explaining what a single stage trigger is or a 2-stage trigger is.
The easiest way to decide what you want is go to one of the gun shops. I think most even smaller ones have it, but all the bigger ones do have the displays, like a Rise Armament display or Geisley display with all the little triggers you can actually cock and pull the triggers. They have like 5 different ones on their bench, and you can try it and see what you like and how you like it and all that.
Without being technically correct, I do like the example that you just brought up, Snob, which is double action versus single action. And without being technically mechanically correct about the difference between single stage and a 2-stage, that is kind of the idea, though. That double action trigger pull that goes from double action, and the next time you pull a single action, those are the 2 different kind of pulls we're talking about.
I mean, that was just a simple. It's not simple, nowhere near right, but it's a simple analogy.
Right. For someone that knows what I'm talking about, the single action, the double action, the single action, that's kind of the difference in the pulls, not the mechanical uses for them. But that was a pretty good for someone that might be new, that has a DACA, DASA gun. They'll understand what the different pulls feel like, at least. So yeah, I mean, anybody else? You guys have anything you want to bring on the triggers before we move on? Because I mean, we could probably talk another hour and a half just on triggers if we wanted to.
Yeah, I want to talk about a little bit about sear angle and hammer disengagement for a second, if you don't mind. I'm picking.
Go ahead, Toby.
Okay, so hang on one second. So see if I can share a screen with you here.
Oh, okay, you found a good diagram?
Maybe. So let's see.
Let's see here.
Stand by, Jacob, and we'll explain that next. Now that I've even confused him again.
Stand by.
All right.
Tell me when you can see it. All right.
Yep, you're on here. Here we go.
So whenever you when you're looking at the trigger assembly, okay. Let's get in here. And we can also use this for his where he was talking about it. So as you go to fire, you've got to disconnect. Can you see my mouse there? You've got to disconnect right in here, and then you've got a second layer disconnect. So this is your traditional mil spec trigger. This isn't some fancy hyper special one. But if you watch the way that it moves as it fires, you'll see that there's the 2 layers of disconnect where it catches where there's not 2 layers. So see where it's just 1 layer where it hooks there. In a 2-stage, as this initial release right there where it just released at the end. So right there, it actually catches on another level. So instead of it being caught up here, there's actually another catch right here. Basically is what it boils down to for a 2-stage. And I couldn't find a good graphic on the internet to represent it, but I figured maybe we could do a live thing. So you were mentioning something before we moved on that you wanted to talk about with regards to the way it disconnects.
Yeah, sure.
What was it, Clover?
I think he was joking about the fear.
No. What, I was joking a while ago? No.
Oh, I thought you were wanting to do some kind of demo.
I was joking because
rabbit hole.
Oh, okay.
Being technical, and I said, so let's talk about sear angles and hammer. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got you.
I mean, that's a thing, but no, I do not want to go down that rabbit hole.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll quit sharing my screen. But yeah, I thought maybe that actually might help with us talking about it.
That is, and that was a good visual right there for sure. So I guess we can jump into double action, single action, because there are people out there like Jacob. Jacob's a new gun owner or new to the firearms community. And I love Jacob. Jacob asked a lot of great questions. So I don't want to dismiss anything because there might be someone out there listening or watching that didn't understand what I was talking about with the double action versus single action. So Toby, you're kind of the good mechanical guy in this. You want to talk about the difference that you can explain in layman's terms better than I could, the difference between double action and single action?
Pistols and rifles and so on and so forth. So double action versus single action. So regardless of what type of firearm it is, whether it's rifle, shotgun, pistol, revolver, semi-automatic, doesn't matter. You're going to have a trigger mechanism that has to fall and strike something, whether it's striker fired or whether it's hammer fired or whatever. It's going to hit something, which then pokes the projectile. It pokes the bullet. So in a single action style hammer, every time you actuate that hammer, you have to physically do something. So picture your old school revolvers where every time in the Westerns, they had to cock the hammer every single time to get that single action. So in those cases, the trigger only does one action. It's a single action. And all that action is that it allows the hammer to fall, striking the projectile or striking the primer to fire the projectile. A double action means that it can do two things. As you pull the trigger through its process, the hammer can pull back, and then at the end, it will break and fall forward. So a double action can cock the hammer as the first action and then fall forward into and fire. I can actually do a 3D demo of that too if you need me to. But at any rate, the point is, single action does one action per trigger pull, which is allow the hammer to fall. Double action can cock the hammer and allow the hammer to fall, so it's called double action. That makes sense?
Well, yeah, it makes sense. 12 gauge says, I guess you're all gun masters. Negative Ghost, right? Not even close. I'm probably, of everyone in this room, I'm probably the least knowledgeable. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't grow up with guns. I didn't ever really break down guns and learn the mechanical side of them. For me, my whole mission was pull trigger, bullet goes to my threat or my target. So I never, for the most part of my life, I've never really given a shit about the mechanics of a firearm. Honestly, I've never built an AR. I've never built any firearm. I buy them already ready to go. I want to know, I pull that trigger, it goes. So I'm ignorant on a lot of the stuff when it comes to the mechanical side of how the actual machine works. So I learn all the time. That's why for me, it's fun to hear Snob and Clover and Toby talking the actual technical stuff, because I'm not one to ever say that I know shit about that, because I don't. I've never built anything. I'm ready to go. I buy them ready to rock. So Snob, Clover, talking about a double action, single action comment or question, go for it.
Yeah, I got one. Well, Snob unmuted first. You got something, Snob?
Yeah, go ahead, Snob.
I'm good.
So when we're talking about double action, single action, it comes to mind there's a lot of single action out there when we get into long guns. You pump a shotgun, it cocks the hammer, you pull the trigger, single action, it drops the hammer. Lever rifle, same way. You articulate the lever, it loads, it cocks the hammer. Single action on the trigger pull, which is drop the hammer. Does anybody know of, I can't think of anything quick off the top of my head, a double action long gun?
That's a great question. No.
I'm sure there is, but I can't think of nothing.
I mean, obviously there's some double action. I think there's some double action like long barrel revolvers. You know what I mean? Yeah. Revolving rifles that are out there, I think. That's like weird. That's something weird, but that's really the only thing I could think of.
Even Mr. Google's having a tough time finding this one.
Yeah, double action.
Okay. I'm sure at some point down through time there's been one, but
sure.
Right.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I don't know. G23 says Henry.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say like the Henrys that looked like a pistol, but it had a rifle stock on it, and it had the cylinder that indexed every time. So I would say that style. I can't remember what the model is, but I'm picturing it in my head where it had the big long, it looked like a picture of a revolver, but it had a big long barrel and had a stock coming off the back of it. That one probably.
Never shot a Henry.
That one's single action. Well, that one's fake, but.
Yeah, you guys have. I've never shot a Henry, so I don't know. So I wouldn't be able to tell you. Of any kind, I've never shot a Henry. I need to go shoot one of Clover's or Snob's Henrys, because I've heard they're awesome. So
I don't have a Henry. Well, I've got a Henry AR-7, but I don't have a Henry. I'm a Winchester man.
Are you? Okay. I know, Clover, you got several Henrys, don't you?
Yeah, probably got one coming. Matter of fact, this month.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But
yeah, no. So I even Google had a difficult time of pulling up a double action.
Just a thought. I'm just throwing out weird crap tonight. But
I like that. Like I said, I mean, this is one of those things where
somebody could ask that, right? We're talking.
Somebody could ask that, and
revolvers and pistols. But what if somebody says, "What about long guns?" Well, good question.
Yeah, just having a great conversation. So let's kind of start moving away from triggers, because that is one thing. The one thing I want to talk about now is good or bad, because it's not as big as AR versus AK, but there's a lot of people that talk lasers versus non-lasers on ARs. Personally, I have a couple laser-like combos, but I will not ever really turn the laser on. I'm a big disbelief, unless they're an IR, infrared, and that's only if you're using nods. I mean, at that point in the civilian world, very few people are running nods, and if you are running nods, maybe an IR laser that doesn't show up to the naked eye or whatever. I don't know, but laser to me is something that gives your position away. You lose your tactical advantage on in a Red Dawn scenario, especially in a home invasion. But I want to bring you guys in. Snob, bring you in first. Laser or no laser on your AR?
Nah, I ain't got no use for a laser.
Toby, what about you?
No, just like you said, there's too many disadvantages, and the biggest disadvantage is there's, it's not like you see in the movies. It's not going to hit. It only hits at that exact point at the distance you have it sighted in at. So if I had it sighted in at 21 yards, then that's where the red dot's at. Everywhere else, it's going to be above or below, anywhere up to feet. So the only real world use application would be CQB or house clearing tactics like that. And again, then you're giving away your position. So you or there is not that much of a use case for it. Military, as a physical, actually overt deterrent, like if you want them to see the dot and kind of second think what they're doing, you get the bad guy, sure. But for just us Joe users, it's on a pistol is a different conversation, but on AR, that is absolutely overkill because of the side over barrel and the side in and use case.
And see, from a military application, the military, they're going to be using nods. They're going to be using night vision, thermal, whatever. They've got nods that have different, readings. But let's say they're using night vision nods. They're going to be running IR. They're not going to be running just a regular laser. And the only reason why I think that people still in the military will still use IR is, especially if you're setting up an ambush or you're waiting for them to come in, you can IR target and call out a fire team, a 4-man fire team, and say, hey, and go ahead and dot that target. That's mine. Next person, that's mine. That's mine. So you can communicate. It's a good way of communication when you're getting ready to engage. But we're talking IR, and you're going to have nods for those to be able to pick those up. So, Clover, I don't want to not bring you in, but what do you think about lasers, Mr. Fudd himself?
Well, I want to take a Fudd approach to this, but I want to hit on something that Toby said, which is pistols were a different story. I don't like them in a defensive situation on rifles or pistols, and I don't even like them for the FUD situation I'm talking about. Obviously, that's irrelevant for pistols, and it's exactly like Toby said. A flat line trajectory of a laser and the trajectory of a projectile are vastly different, and that even ranges with a pistol. I mean, you're off, like Toby said. You can be off feet. It's crazy. Right. So are they fun? Do they look cool up close and personal? Would it work? I mean, yeah, okay. From the bud perspective, if you're talking about on a rifle and you're talking about especially a hunting application, not using the laser as an aiming device, but using the laser as a designator can be effective.
And that's kind of what I was talking about with the military, is designating individual engagement targets or whatever. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, your own pig, a couple of things come to mind. Your own pigs, and you're with your buddies, you light up one, you say, this is the one we're hitting. Everybody see that. Everybody got it. 3, 2, 1, fire. Right. The other application is, you can use, they've got laser designators, and they're not the same. I mean, I don't want to say, they're kind of a combination between a really high beam flashlight and a laser. And so you put your regular optic, you have your scope, but then when that green laser hits the target down range, what does it do? It illuminates it, right? And then so you're able to see it through that optic. So there is a there's a place for it, especially, I think in the hunting world, but then the snob, no offense, snob, but then the snob in me kicks in and I say, just go buy a thermal scope.
Sure. Yeah. 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 There are a couple instances that I wouldn't say justify, but I could understand the use of a laser. Obviously, what we're talking about, the designation side of things, not necessarily targeting side, but the designation side of things in whatever scenario you want to bring up. I would also say that someone that, let's say, might be new to concealed carry, and that we're talking a handgun at this point, not an AR, so just bear with me here, but a handgun that is somewhat new. They got proficiency in firing with iron sights and all that. But some people might, someone said earlier, I don't know who it was, but you put a dot on someone's chest, chances are you might not have to pull that trigger. They look down and see that dot on their chest. They might say, oh shit, I'm out of here. That could help in a scenario that people get 20 feet away. Hey, go ahead, and put that dot on there. It might save you from having to pull that trigger. Or if nothing else, people are freaking out in that scenario. That dot might at least give them some sort of an idea of where that round's going to hit because they're freaking out mentally. Those would be the only two scenarios that I could see justifiable. It's just someone putting a laser on there. That's just me. Clover, you said you have one more question, then let's go for it.
Actually, you covered it. I was going to ask if the intimidation factor is what I was going to call
Absolutely.
it. The thing with lasers, and I could see it could be.
Now,
go ahead. Snub.
I was just going to say, on my nightstand gun, the SIG P320, I have a TLR2 HL with the laser on it. Mm-hmm. I like that because if I wake up in the middle of the night and God forbid someone is in my house, your eyes are blurry, all that.
Yep.
You can, I know where that, it's just like the rifle though. It sets low enough off the barrel. It doesn't hit exact, but out to, anywhere from 3 to 21 yards or 21 feet. You're going to get inside the kill zone.
Absolutely. Yeah. No doubt about it. I know that my daughter, for instance, when she first she enjoyed that laser because for her, it was something that she's learning using those iron sights and all that, but having that laser in her mind was like, okay, just in case something happens and I don't have time to present and make sure that my sight picture is correct and I just need to get it done. If someone's rushing at you, you pull that out, put that laser, boom, boom, boom. You're probably going to survive that thing. So that's just me. Go ahead, Snub.
I was just going to say, I've got one more thing where I really like lasers, and I don't use it now because I have the Manus X10 and I really like that for it. But you can, if you're teaching somebody and watching them dry fire with the laser on it, if they're aiming at something on the wall and you watch them, you can see what they're doing with their, which way they're pulling the gun every time and try to help them correct that easier, which that's the neat thing about the Mantis. It kind of takes care of that. But
no, that's one of those that I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that is a phenomenal training thing as well. Even dry firing at home is phenomenal. You can do it outside, but that laser might not. But yeah, you're saying training, especially in a dry fire situation.
It's just helpful when you're watching somebody that is having trouble hitting the target, and then you put that laser on there and watch them, dry fire wise, watch them and see where that laser goes. It's really easy to see what they're doing quickly.
Yeah. The next thing I want to talk about, which this could go any direction, but flashlights on your AR. Now, I'm going to come back and say that I think that a flashlight outside of iron sights is probably, and I like Clover's initial reaction of an adjustable stock. Okay, so I'll give you an adjustable stock and iron sights. A flashlight, in my opinion, we're not talking competition. We're going to talk about a battle rifle, home defense, self-defense, truck gun, whatever. I think a flashlight is crucial, not only because you have to identify a threat. And if you take a shot in a home defense scenario and you're in a dark house and all that, and you don't have that flashlight to identify that it is a threat, then things could go badly legally down the road for you. More importantly, it's just nice to be able to, Now, when I'm running a pistol, I don't run a light on my pistol. I'll have it offhand or whatever, or keep it in, or the old FBI. No, I don't do that shit. But for an AR, I think that outside of competition, a flashlight is crucial, not just because of identifying a threat, but a light on an AR can do so many things. If you're in that Red Dawn scenario and your flashlight in your pocket gets broken or runs out of battery, or you have to give it for someone else, the flashlight on your rifle could really help illuminate an area that you need to do some work on. So it's not just for shooting that light, because the lights on an AR are typically very, very, very bright. So you can get a lot of things done with the light off your rifle without actually pulling triggers. So I'll start with Snob this time. Lights on your AR, yes, no, and why?
Yes, and I know a lot of people have the reasons. I like lights on a pistol. I know a lot of people don't, and I understand why they don't, because if you're getting up in the middle of the night and pointing your gun at everything, you're illuminating to see what it is. With a rifle, you don't really have that option as easily to hold a flashlight. You can, but it's definitely not as easy, and you still want to see what you're pointing. I'd rather point my loaded gun at something and know what it is and not shoot than point my loaded gun at something and shoot, because I can see the outline in the dark. And it's hard to hold a flashlight and aim a rifle compared to a pistol. Or harder, anyway.
And I'm not against. I'm okay with a flashlight on a handgun, especially over a laser. I'd rather do a light on a pistol than a laser. I have a couple of lights on my what do you call it? I've got a Glock 17 that's one of my nightstand guns. It's got a light on there. I don't always prefer to have it, but on that scenario, absolutely. Once again, we're talking about a home defense intrusion. I'm going to make sure that I've identified my threat and my target before I pull that trigger in my own home. But yeah, you are 100% correct. In a rifle, an AR platform, even though they're light, they're still bulky and they're still heavy enough that very few people are going to, one hand shoot that AR. They're going to have both hands. So that's what I'm saying. I love the light on
another
AR.
reason, before you move on from me, I'll take up some more time. Another reason why I like a light on my AR is because I hear something outside, coyote, whatever, outside my house. I've got a bright light on my AR that I can shine out there and see what it is at 3 a.m. and shoot at it.
How many
may or may not have done that off my back porch, but
how many people would use that light as a deterrent also, to where you don't, once again, same thing we're talking about in a self-defense, that laser and the handgun. If you are in a self-defense and let's say you run out of ammo, God forbid you've got a 30-round mag in your house and you've run out, God, you've got bigger problems. But that light can blind that enemy, that threat. It can blind that threat enough for you to get away. So there's before I take everything away, Toby, what about you? Light on the AR.
Absolutely. But like I said earlier, you need to train before you go out and buy one so that you know what type, what position, what the use case is for that light. But absolutely, definitely have an AR on a light on your AR. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think Pancake's going after you a little bit, Snob. Let's kind of talk about this. He says, I do not agree that you have to point your gun at something to see it. If it really is dark, you can see pretty good just by having it pointed in front of you.
So
yes, I agree.
So I'll kind of tag along with Midnight. So you got the low ready position, right? So if you're pointing low ready and you're pointing at the ground, it's still going to illuminate the area in front of you in the ground. The key is having it pointed low ready so that you're able to see over top of the rifle and see what it is that you're, where you're walking. I mean, you're going to be tripping over crap in the dark. And again, you can point a light straight at the ground or straight up in the air, and it's going to illuminate the area around you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
realize
especially a rifle light, because they're usually quite a bit brighter than a pistol light.
Yes, they are crazy bright. I've tried to go as long as I can, but Clover, go for it, bro.
Typically not a fan, no, of lights on it.
Yeah. Okay, on anything.
Yeah, on anything. Yeah, hunting application, it's dumb. Like I said, go thermal and
hunting
go thermal and rule the night. If it's a home defense situation or some kind, I'm gonna have my extreme light. I'm gonna have something in offhand or something like that I can
even with an AR
spin around, manipulate around, something like that. I'm not gonna use an AR. I mean, for like I said, I'm talking about my situation.
Okay.
in the event that I was to use some type of a carbine or rifle or shotgun or home defense, and I don't even do that with a shotgun, man. No, man, my streamlight's so small. I think I could easily hold it between my fingers or in my offhand.
Oh yeah, I've got the little USB one. It's like the size of a crayon.
Yeah, I'm
I've got
not carrying a 4D mag light here. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's no sense in that nowadays with the light technology that we got, right? And yeah, my lights are going to be small enough that I've got that gives me, to some extent, two-hand manipulation, to be able to utilize that light to the side or behind me or, anything like that without sweeping at all, regardless of whether I'm low ready. I can put the light exactly on what I need to put it on, can go turn it on and off and do other things fairly quickly. And I don't know, just me.
No, I hear you. Rich just says that, he's got 1100 lumen light on his AR. It lights up. We were talking about this earlier. The difference between handgun, or I would say pistol lights versus rifle lights are dramatic. A rifle light will do some serious damage to someone that's 21 feet away staring into that thing. It's going to startle them. It's going to blind them enough that you can get away. That is a weapon in its own. A lot of these great lights that we're talking about the Streamlights USB. They're like the size of, they're like a lipstick thing. But you shine that in someone's eyes at 10 feet away, that's strong enough. But these rifle lights, I'm telling you, these things are going to really, really do the job. If you use one, it could be a weapon in itself to get away from a threat for sure. The last thing I wanted to talk about is a sling. And this is something that I think is extremely important, not just because it's easy to wear it and all of that, but if you're like me, when I learned how to shoot the M16, we used the old sling to support our shooting stance. And I think a lot of people have gotten away from that. And Squiblo did a video last week on how to utilize a sling properly to stabilize your stance shooting offhand. And I think that was a great one. But a sling, I think, is important. What do you guys think? Toby, I'll start with you. Sling, do you think it's important, or is it something that people talk about too much?
No, it's important because, again, we're talking about a rifle, and specifically we're talking about an AR-15. So you've got to have a way to get rid of that thing. You've got to have a way, like you said, to be able to utilize it for bracing. You've got to have a way to be able to transport it safely. You've got to be able, to have a way, if you're carrying a secondary backup, sidearm, you got to have a way to be able to drop it safely and be able to transition to that pistol. You got to have a sling.
Yeah. Before we move on to Snob and Clover, G23 says, do you think the flashlight should have a strobe function? I do not like a strobe function flashlight. It's going to screw me up just as much as it's going to screw anybody else. That's just my personal opinion. I'm going to move to Snob and say, answer two questions. Flashlight with strobe and sling, yes or no?
Most of my flashlights, I think you can turn them on strobe mode, except for that. I don't think you can, that little Streamlight Micro stream. But other than that, I don't use it. I never use it. But, it's there, I think. Not my thing. And sling, it depends on what I'm doing with the gun. My home defense gun, not, my AR that I keep in my house, does not have a sling on it. It has the quick attach single point, but I don't want it on it because I don't want to be trying to hassle with that at 3 a.m. Now, if it's a gun I'm going to war kind of Red Dawn situation, yeah, I want a sling on it for the reasons Toby just said. And my, it has one available to it. It's got a single point clip on, but it's hanging on the thing behind it where it's not getting caught up on stuff and I don't have to worry about it in the middle of the night if I grab it. My hunting rifles, absolutely, I have a sling on them too, ARs.
Yeah, all but maybe two of my ARs have slings on them, and that's just because I need to get some more slings. I would have a sling on every single AR. Sandhill Shooters out there says, what's a good sling that I should be looking at? I can give you a couple that I have that I use most, especially in the last couple of years. That an old GI sling works great, but you're talking about some slings that you can work with the tab and all that. The two that I have on most of mine are either a Beachin Tactical, which I think are great, and then also a McLean sling. And the reason why I like the McLean sling maybe a little bit more is it has a tab on the sling that you can tighten, loosen very, very quickly. I think Blue Force Gear has a tab that will attach to most slings, but if you can find a sling that has a tab already attached that you can loosen and tighten, some people like them tighter on their bodies and all that. Kind of going back to what Snob was saying, for my kind of home defense rifle, that's going to be a last case, ditch. If I have to go to that, then we're in some serious shit at our house. But when I'm not using my rifle, I tighten that sling up as tight as I can go. So when I grab it, I don't have to sling it on, I don't have to worry about it. It's ready to go, and I can still go ahead and use it. I can always loosen it up if I need to. So if you're out there and you want to sling, but you are worried about what Snob was saying, what if I don't use that? I want to mix with it. You can go ahead and tighten that sucker up, and you should be fine. But I understand exactly what you're saying, Snob. That some people
that rifle has a single point sling too, so you can't really.
Okay, yeah. So
I'm really not that big of a fan of single point slings.
I'm not either, but I've got it. All of mine are 2-point slings now. I do have some of them that can convert to a single point sling, but I run them typically as a 2-point sling. That's just me. Before I think Toby's getting ready to do something, so while he's doing that, Clover, sling or no sling for the AR?
Well, I want to address the strobe thing right quick.
Oh yeah, absolutely, go for it. Address the strobe, sure.
A strobe has its purpose. For example, it's late. You might have had a little too much to drink and you're listening to techno music. Then the strobe is awesome at that point. Anything outside of the realm of that particular use, then no, I don't like a strobe. A sling on a long gun, 2 thumbs up. Great idea, regardless, pretty much for me. I mean, even in even though I really don't use long guns for home defense situations, yeah, a good sling is, like you said, like everybody has said. I mean, steady your shot, gives you a place to hang or, let go or whatever without dropping it or having to set it down, that sort of thing. Just a good idea.
Caroline out there says, check out Edgar Sherman Design. I don't even never heard that. I will check that out. I'm always looking for cool slings. I'm a kind of a sling junkie. So I'm always looking for a really cool sling. So I'll check out that. Everyone else check that out as well.
Real quick before you go to him.
Go for it.
Slings
the QD mounts are. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Let's not.
I was just going to say one thing. QD mounts on slings are awesome though, because you can jerk them off and throw them down if you don't want.
That's what I'm saying. Is
really quick on a 2-point sling.
Yeah. Most definitely.
And slings are like holsters for pistols. I mean, for handguns.
Yeah. Absolutely. JM out there says he has his AR set up like he was on deployment. First of all, Semper Fidelis, brother. Yeah, my battle rifle that I call my battle rifle, I call my Red Dawn just because it's what it is. But I run a light. I run a holographic reflex on it, and I run a foregrip. And that's the only of all my ARs, it's the only one that I run a foregrip on. And I'll explain to you why here in a second. We will talk about foregrips in a second. But Toby, what you got going on, brother?
Oh, nothing. I mean, I was just saying, I was trying to hunt down an image on the internet that kind of talks about how you can actually have a sling and stow it away in a fashion to where it's not in your way in the middle of a night situation. But I couldn't find one on the internet. So, I mean, I just kind of was looking around for, a way to do a demonstration. And I don't know, it's just YouTube. So you got to be careful of how you do those demonstrations. But let's just say in theory, you could actually pull, if you've got one of those quick adjust, quick release with the strats or like the mag pulls, slings, you could actually pull it taut, wrap it around the end of your stock, circle back to the pistol grip, and you can still have, when you grab up on that pistol grip from underneath the sling, it's not in your way. I mean, you're able to use and manipulate the firearm easily without that sling being in your way. And all you gotta do is literally drop it down and slip it out and you're back into place. I mean, I couldn't find a picture on the internet though. I was trying to, so y'all are just gonna have to try to imagine what I'm talking about, I suppose. Or if there were a demonstration somewhere around, maybe, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that you can do with with the sling. I will say this also, and this is a question out there for you guys, but I want to bring in some of the guys that might have gone down range out there at JMA and all that. But your battle rifle, this is one thing that I actually carry on my stock, but some people don't. But anyone carry a tourniquet on their stock?
Mm-hmm.
On my Red Dawn gun. I need to bring that. I haven't ever really showed that. It's one of my M&Ps that I've never showed on camera. I probably need to do a video on that, but it's my battle rifle, and it's just that's what it is. I don't go out and train with it very often. I don't do it's my battle rifle. But on that, I with what do you call them?
Rubber bands?
No, we call them the
bungee cords.
But they're the shorter ones. I've got a tourniquet wrapped on the outside of the stocks where it's not going to be on my cheek wheel or anything like that. But I run a tourniquet on my stock just in case you ever do that. But I don't know if anyone else out there does that. Anybody out there run a tourniquet on their stock? If you haven't and you're talking about putting together a battle rifle, consider that, because it's something that in that Red Dawn scenario, tourniquet, you know, I want to carry a tourniquet in my person, but having a spare tourniquet for someone else or whatever could be something. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I just thought about that because someone was asking about a battle rifle, but I need to do a video about that. I think people will enjoy it's very simple. Like I said, stock with a tourniquet. I've got a holographic. I've got a light, iron sights, and that's it. It's very simple, and a foregrip. So my last thing we're going to talk about before we get out of here is a foregrip. And people, and I'm not just talking about like the broomstick, you know, but we're talking maybe angled foregrips or anything like that. Any kind of a grip on the bottom rail, or, you know, like a Riker on the side, but the typical foregrip or angled foregrip. Do you guys like those? I'm going to start with Clover. Foregrip, yes, no, one, why?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Kind of depends on the design. Just the broom handle, the stick straight to the side. No, if it's some type of an ergonomic or angled grip or hand stop or something like that, then absolutely. I mean, it's gonna aid in steadying the rifle. It's gonna give you another point of contact if you have to, you know, let go or do something with your offhand. And one that comes to mind, I mean, Fab Defense used to make them. I don't know if they do anymore. I know I've got a couple rifles that have them, and I know, Ghost, the way you like to shoot is you grip with your offhand back toward the mag well. You grip the mag well, and Fab Defense.
I do, yeah. They also when you do room clearing and you do CQB, if you're going to be on a 3-hour or 6-hour patrol and having your hand on that mag well, you can handle that. If you've got that arm, I know it sounds crazy. It's just an experience. If you've got your arm extended for 6 hours at a time, it's going to get fucking tired. For me, it was a lot easier. I could put my offhand around that mag well, and that elbow kind of goes to my side. It helps support that gun. That's the only reason why I do it. Yep. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Anyways, go ahead. But
no, they make a basically a grip, an ergonomic style thing that wraps around that mag well. So to me, that kind of falls into the category as a grip or a forward grip in a way. And those can be really neat. Like I said, depending on how you set up, how you mount, your form, how you shoot.
I want to send a shout out to the range. It says, sorry I got here late. It's a good podcast. I'll be back on the next time. Thanks for having, guys. Y'all stay. Hey, thanks, Range. Appreciate you for coming. We're glad you enjoyed it. Come back anytime and all that. So that's awesome. Snob, what about you? A foregrip, whether it's vertical or angled, whatever. A foregrip, do you like them or no?
No. I used to run them when I had the old pick rail, quad rail, whatever you call it, on the guns. Yeah. Now that I've got free floating full length fore ends, no. I use a C-clamp grip and not a fan anymore. I do have a stop on one, the little, just the hand stop on one. But
sure. Toby, what about you? Foregrip, whether vertical or angled, you like them? Yes, no, and why?
It's according to the use case. So I know I keep harping that, but it's according to the use case. So if I'm going to be using a rifle that I'm going to be posting up a lot for longer distance shooting, then it's actually going to get in my way, and it gives you that pivot point on the handrail to where you're not going to get a stable or accurate base to be able to shoot from at the longer distances. If it's going to be like you mentioned and like Clover was talking about for CQB applications and quick movement and quick control and quick manipulation, or even forcible poking, then absolutely it gives you that massive amount of leverage you need to be able to do, quick manipulation and more power because you've got two shoulders working instead of just one. Even with the magwell, like you were talking about, you're close in and you've got less leverage than you do if you're way out here with full control of a different grip. So it's according to the use case. And that's pretty much what I run with. So if you're using, someone had mentioned over penetration for a AR style rifle using in the home, I would actually kind of slightly beg to differ. You can use a lower velocity round with hollow points to where it would not over penetrate. But taking that to its logical conclusion, if you're using an AR pistol and you're using that for home defense with the lower velocity hollow point, and absolutely you have to have an angled forward grip to be able to get that leverage and manipulation and around corners you'd need. On my long rifle, you can see that no, I don't run one.
I will say this. I'm going to caveat this real quick and say, if you're out there and you're looking to get an AR pistol, do not get a vertical foregrip.
Angled forward grip. AFG. AFG.
A felon at that point. Yeah. If you put a vertical foregrip on your AR pistol, you can put an angled foregrip, but not a vertical foregrip. Please don't do that. Just saying. For me personally, yes, I run on my battle rifle. I run a foregrip. I think I might have one of my other ones, but I don't remember I think that's the only rifle that I run a foregrip. I do have some angled foregrips on a couple of my other stuff, especially on a couple of the pistols. But for my full size rifles, my battle rifle is only one, and I don't have it out. Okay, I have it maybe on the second notch from in. Once again, I like running in tight. Most of the time I am on that magwell. And I know a lot of people cringe about that. I'm sorry, but that's how I do it. That's how I feel comfortable. And that's how I'm actually pretty confident in firing that weapon in CQB territory. So I go magwell, but I will have, and here's why. You can still C-clamp that grip over a vertical foregrip. You just use that as a stationary thing. So you can still C-clamp that barrel, that hand guard with that vertical foregrip. Some people, when I use a vertical, I don't like straight up going foregrip. I'll kind of C-clamp it or whatever. But one of the things you brought up, and here's the reason why I truly have it on there, is CQB stuff. And this is just something that it's experience. You're running CQB, you're running shoot house, or you're running, home defense, whatever. You can utilize, especially if you have, and they have muzzle brakes now that are kind of jagged edge muzzle brakes. That's a weapon. It's a stabbing weapon. And you have a vertical foregrip running. Now you have that leverage that you can jam it. If someone gets in too close and you really don't have time, you can literally use that as a stabbing weapon and it will get the job done. So without that foregrip, you can still jab with just your normal C-clamp, but you're not going to get the thrust or the leverage. You get that thumb behind that vertical foregrip, and now you can thrust into that throat or whatever you're looking for. It becomes another part of that weapon. So that's just me. Let's see here. Clover said he's got to point out to long range or precision with a foregrip. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I know I was speaking more with the quick stuff earlier, but, when you were talking about, precision or, mostly like, again, in a FUD situation or something, I guess, hunting, having that foregrip could be a great tool to post up for a really good, nice, precise shot. Maybe even if you're trying to go longer range, to steady your shot. And what I mean by that is, for example, I've got a couple that have the angled foregrip, and the angled foregrips I've got are on those are the mag pull, and they angle and then they go up flat, and then they got a little 90-degree lip, I guess, that comes down. And that is a great little area in between the angle and the 90-degree deal to post up on a tree limb or a fence post or a barbed wire fence or something like that. It's almost perfect for using that to help steady your shot.
Yeah. There's a question out there that was talking about a foregrip with a bipod. I like bipods on my ARs, and and the only time I'm going to ever use a bipod is if it's going to be a rifle that I'm going to be using precision, long range sniping, Overwatch on something. If that's, I'm talking military stuff right now. not in the military anymore, but if the Red Dawn scenario comes out and I'm on Overwatch, then yeah, I'll probably use a bipod. But I don't own a bipod right now. I don't own a long distance rifle. So all of my stuff is 500 yards and in. I don't run bipods. I don't particularly like them. What do you guys think? I know Clover's a big fan of bipods. Snob, Toby, what about bipods for you guys?
Well, the ones that the foregrip with a built-in bipod, I at one point in my life thought that was going to be the greatest thing in the world when I paid money and ordered one. And I put it on my gun. And I took it right back off about 3 days later, and I have no clue what that thing is. I would never waste my money on that in my life again. Ever. They are the worst thing in the world. Now, I do have a bipod on my 20-inch coyote rifle, but that's a different purpose. Well, it's just a regular fold-up bipod.
Absolutely. I'm going to let Clover go last because I know he's a bipod guru and freak. But Toby, what about you? Bipod? I know you probably just got your first bipod in.
I'm a Swagger bipod fan.
Yes, you are.
Wink, chill. No, just kidding. So, not kidding, actually. So I did just get a bipod in. Clover was gracious enough to send me one. And I'll be reviewing that on the DSP Armory Titan AR-10 in the coming months or whatever. And it was pretty solid. It's pretty awesome. But that said, though, I do run, just like everybody else was saying, I do run a bipod on anything that I'm going to be going out long distances because it adds a significant amount of weight. It changes the center balance on the rifle, pushes everything out to the front. Like you said, it's just for those. Absolutely
lean in and get that going, that leverage, for sure.
But for my standard AR-15s, not a single one of them, and I never will. Not for an AR-15.
Yep. Clove, all right, let you bring up the this one because I know that you are a bipod guy. So
well, I mean, it depends on it. I'll pull a page out of Toby's book and say, it's all purpose situation. And if you're talking self-defense, if you're talking, any type of tactical speed shooting or something like that, a bipod's absolutely worthless. I mean, let's be honest. A bipod is not for, offhand quick shots. A bipod is designed to steady the rifle. It's to, quicker follow-up and stuff like that. Sure. But, when do you need quicker follow-up? Typically at longer ranges, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, if you're talking about you want to do some longer range, and it doesn't have to be 800 or 1,000 yards. If you
300 yards might be long distance for you.
If you want to put 5.56 shots on, let's say 3-inch steel at 200 or 300 yards, then a bipod's going to help with that.
Right.
So we're not talking about extreme long range. Precision and all that comes into play. So yeah, if you're talking about something like that, you're talking about long range, you're talking about hunting applications, which Swagger has some of the best, in my opinion, out there for that type of situation. Then and like G23, thanks for throwing that up on the screen. It says Barrett 50 needs a bipod.
Yes,
my Armalite 50, I guarantee you, has a bipod on it, and that bipod weighs as much as most AR-15s. Just FYI.
That's right. Yeah, it's just one of those things where, like I said, I've never done a lot of long distance shooting. I'm like I said, I'm 500 yards and in, and probably I'm more 200 yards in is where I'm really. I feel like inside 200 yards, I'm a deadly warrior, and I'm a weapon within 200 yards of anything. So, and that's kind of where I've been trained. That's where I always kind of went to. I think outside of 200 yards. 200 yards, people don't realize 200 yard shot is not an easy shot. Even if you've got a dot, unless you got a magnifier on that dot, 200 yards is not something you're going to be, just letting lead fly down range and hoping that you're going to hit everything. It's going to be one of those things where 200 yards is a long way away. People don't realize that when you talk 1,000 yards, was it 1,500 yards? Is that a mile? Roughly 1,500 yards is about a mile. So you're looking at, 1,000 yard shot is 2/3 of a mile. That's a long ass way, So yeah, that's just me. I 338 Lapua. Yeah, first long distance shot I ever took was 338 Lapua, and I absolutely love it. One day I'll own a 338 Lapua. One day, not anytime soon. One day. Love 338 Lapua. And Clover knows this. He and I went down to see Charlie Melton, and we did some long range shooting down there in Texas. And I'm actually, that's like my next thing is I want to get into long range precision competition. I think that'd be blast. And I'm really thinking of going 6.5 Creed. That's kind of where I could see myself enjoying, because I shot Charlie 6.5 Creed and really enjoyed it. But I think eventually I'd like to have a 3.3 Lapua. I don't know. That's just me. That's kind of like one of my things, you know.
I agree with you. People talk distance a lot, and especially when they say, "Oh, well, you don't need this or you don't need that. You're only shooting 200 yards."
Yeah.
Why not have like the most effective possible tool? I mean, if you're shooting 200 yards, have a rifle that'll reach out 1,200. What's wrong with that?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it can do 1,200, it can do 200 real easy. You know, and your thing about people don't understand distance. Yeah, I've shot my 50 BMG at 1,500 meters before. You literally have time to get out of prone, stand up, and look through the binoculars before it hits. It's a long way.
Yeah.
On that same point, though, you don't need a 6x24 scope on a 5.56 rifle. And there's so many people I see will do that. Put a 6-24 scope on a rifle to shoot 200 yards.
Yeah.
And they call it their battle rifle. I'm like,
yeah.
It sort of goes back in the.
It's one of those once it can rotate out and it's not there permanently. If it just rotates off, and if you need it, you're there. Kind of like a magnifier, if you want to say it could be there or not. But yeah, I mean, once again, there are people that are going to go spend that money and not
a 12 power, a 3 to 12 will out. You can easily shoot out past farther than a 5.56 is going to shoot.
No doubt.
There's something to be said that same way when we were talking about optics versus irons, that there can be some people out there, depending on their eyesight, that they may require that. They may require a higher power of magnification. Just remember a few things. Number one, especially if you're shooting offhand, right, and unsupported. The more magnification, it also magnifies your errors. So if you have tremors and if your heart is racing and your pulse, and you're gonna see that through the scope, and it's gonna throw you off. And into what Snob's saying there. I mean, military. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, military people out there, but most military people I've talked to, I mean, they shoot out to 1,000 all day, every day with 10 power. And I can speak from experience that the 50 that I was talking about, it's a fixed 20 power on it. And it is at that magnification. Is it shootable at say 500? Yeah. I mean, you can see milk jugs and stuff enough to shoot them at 500, but the clarity, the focus is simply not there because the magnification is so high.
Yeah. JMA out there says his longest confirmed was 1157. My first time ever to shooting long distance was at a buddy of mine, and he had a lot of land, and it was at 1,200 yards. But I didn't do anything. I literally, he had the dope already set. He had the call. He'd already shot it several times that day. He knew exactly what the wind was doing. I literally laid down behind it. He told me to hold, here. I held it there. I squeezed and I hit. I'll
tell you what.
3-mile-an-hour wind. So I'm not going to say that I was like this awesome thing. I literally laid down. He said, "Hold here, pull." I laid down there, executed, and I hit. So it wasn't like I was doing anything.
If you want to make a younger kid, new shooter, really think it's awesome, set up your rifle in a lead sled at about 800 yards. Put some milk jugs out.
Let it explode.
Get it on him. And then put that kid behind that rifle, and all he has to do is pull the trigger. And if it's strapped in a lead sled, it really can't go too far.
Yeah.
They think it is awesome whenever you do that.
Some Kool-Aid or some dye in that water, and they see that. I mean, seriously, it's the effect of any exploding target or anything that's interactive targets, especially with kids. They want to see watermelons explode. They want to see that stuff. It's a visual. So I agree.
Especially with kids, I like to see stuff explode too.
I do too, but with a kid, I mean, that's going to bring that kid and say, "Oh, hell yeah, I want more of that." I don't know who do we talk about? What were we talking about? I literally just kind of went blind and deaf and dumb.
We were on bipods, and then we got into some long range stuff.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so we're just talking long range stuff. Oh, yeah, because he was talking about his latest confirmed was 1,200. Let's see here. 12 Gauge says, "Who would take the time for a short meeting this week?" I have no idea what you're talking about. So I have no idea. All right, so let's kind of, I'll let everybody kind of close up and talk a little bit about what your AR setup is, if you want anything to be kind of cool. So let's start with Toby. Let's call it your battle rifle. If you want to, some people don't. Like I said, I've never shown mine on camera. I'll tell you what it is, but I haven't shown it on camera. But do you want to? And if so, what's kind of how your loadout on your battle rifle is?
So with YouTube, you can't show them on yeah, I mean, but I'm not sketchy about showing things. I'm not paranoid or anything of it, so I don't have a problem with it. But YouTube does. So obviously, I run a light, and it is one of the Olight Warrior X2, I think, and it's only because I caught it on sale, not because it's better or worse than Surefire or any of the other brands. It does have the temporary on-off, and it is mounted into the M-LOK rail.
Do you have the extended cord that you could control it back on your hand, or is it you got to be manually turn the light off with your finger?
It's got the cord, so I can do press up over top.
Like
C grip. I do for temporary on off, yeah. But if I'm just permanently turning it on, it's useless.
Oh yeah, sure.
But on the bright side, that particular Olight has two spots. So one is temporary, and one it's similar to the Surefire, like the shotgun I have on my forearm. You got a temporary on, and then you got a permanent on. So it's same concept, really. But again, it's according to whether I'm just doing quick flash or whether I'm trying to actually see what I'm doing. Then of course, like I mentioned at the very 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 outset, is I have an extended magazine release and an extended bolt catch release, and then I run a Strike Industries Viper stock because it's short and compact. I run the Magpul, what is the M2 sling, and I run a Burris 1-6 or 1-4 or 1-6 AR optic on the top with a 45 offset little Mo red dot, so that I got like you were talking about, because if I do have the throw lever to dial it back down to 1 quickly, but sometimes that you don't have time for that, so you can do the 45 and pull in. That's it. I don't run any kind of grips. I don't run any kind of bayonets or crazy whatever. I think I've got a Strike Industries Viper. I've got the Viper stock, and I've got the Strike Industries. It's the one that the flash hider that actually pushes out, as opposed to I don't know. I have to look it up, but I run it pretty stripped down. It's
like a linear comp.
Yeah. I mean, I run it pretty stripped. In the
in the same way.
Functional.
Now, do you have a battle rifle? I mean, do you?
Yep.
So
I have a Rock River that was bought well before all the bullshit with Rock River and Springfield. But anyways, hey, Rock River,
good rifle
with an Aim Point Pro on it. I don't even know what brand single point sling it has. Something I bought at Academy. I don't even know, and I don't even keep it on it. And I've got a TLR1 HL on it, a pistol light up front, and that's basically it. It's stock. Other than that,
yeah.
Oh, I do have a Rise Armament charging handle in it. The little bit bigger charging handle. I don't remember what it is, because I love that charging handle. I think it have in all but one of my ARs.
I know Clover and all that had said that he doesn't really have a whole lot to add. So do you want to add anything, or are you good?
Yeah, I can. I mean, mine I kind of speak to simplicity here, since everybody else is talking about adding this and adding that, I guess. You say my battle rifle. Well, first of all, the rifle I've got that I would consider my battle rifle is my FAL with a Trijicon. I wouldn't even consider an AR-15, in my opinion, to be a battle rifle. I don't believe it is. That said, what AR-15 do I have?
Your Red Dawn rifle. If you had a shit hits the fan, you had one rifle to go to. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I was fixing to say. If you said, okay, dude, out of all your ARs, which one are you going to grab in just about any given situation and run with, right? Out of the ARs that I have, I've got an XM177 copy. It's not a Colt, but it looks just like a Colt XM177. I believe it's a Bushmaster receiver, if I'm not mistaken, that Brownell's put on sale at one time. And of course, I fitted everything out. It looks identical. Bone stock carry handle, fixed carry handle with the sights, A2 triangle front sight post, collapsible, stock, the little thin profile, if you're familiar with the old Colt stocks that are on there. It's not the big bulky stuff, a little thin handguard, not the big bulky like DPMS style. It's thin, it's sleek, it's lightweight, it's minimal, and it's a pleasure, man. I love it.
Till we put this out there.
There you go, Clover. That's you up one side, down the other, brother.
That's your battle rifle.
That could be my battle rifle. I've got to hit Marlon up or whoever.
That's you, baby, right there. That's you.
Yeah, I would.
That's blasphemy.
I would rock that. It needs the adjustable stock on it, though. That's the only.
No, that's even more blasphemy. I cannot stand the lever action with anything but wood, pretty brown wood.
Here's the deal: if you already have other lever rifles, why not? But I wouldn't go to that as my first lever rifle. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you've got a plethora of lever rifles, you can own one. But I still just think it's blasphemy.
Yeah.
I want to be like Jeff last week, and it's just a hard no. How did he say it? You're just wrong. There's two kinds of people in this world.
Yeah.
If you think that's okay, you're wrong.
For me, my battle rifle loadout is pretty simple. It's based on the M&P Sport 2. The only thing that's different is I went with an 18-inch barrel on that. A2 front sight, flip up rear sights. I've got an EOTech holographic reflex as my optic. I've got an Enforce light on the barrel on the rail up top. It does have the cord that I can use from back there or the adjustable there. So I've got that Enforce. I love that Enforce. It's like $150. I don't even know if they still make that version of it, but I love that thing. Let's see. I've got the Magpul foregrip, and it is not the plastic kind. I'm going to say this. If you're going to get a foregrip, this is my opinion. You guys might disagree. If you're going to get a foregrip, don't go get the $15 cheap plastic polymer foregrip. If you're going to get a foregrip and you're going to run a foregrip, spend the $50 and go get the aluminum, the metal foregrip. I mean, it's going to do you a lot more. I'm not saying the plastic's going to break. It probably won't, but I don't think that I would want to put my Red Dawn rifle with a plastic foregrip. That's just me. So I run a Magpul. I think it's aluminum, probably. It's a metal foregrip that I probably spent $50 on that. And it's not that much. We're talking about if you're gonna run a foregrip, I would go non-polymer foregrip. I do have a drop-in trigger. I think it's a CMC trigger on that. It is a two-stage trigger. I've got, and I think when Snub said, I don't even remember what it is. I do have an enlarged charging handle and an ambi charging handle. I want to say it's maybe Rise. Don't quote me on that. I remember when I was putting this thing together a few years back, I was just kind of did a search for enlarged ambi charging handle, and I picked one up, and I think it is a Rise, but don't quote me on that. But I did get I got an extended bolt release that'll kind of go down, and I'm probably talking about guys.
A bad lever?
A lever, and then it kind of goes around the opposite side as well. Yeah. It's just that's a pretty cool thing. I have not gone with an enlarged mag release. I might go get one of those little paddle ones that are a little bit bigger. I might do that, but I haven't yet. If I do anything else that rifle, I probably will go do that. But I just kind of gotten once again, I carry my offhand is on that mag well. So for me, flipping that button is pretty simple. So for me, I've just gotten used to it. But if I do anything else to it, I probably will add that.
On that,
yeah.
Talking about that, I had never messed with a oversized mag release at all until I got one in an Armory spec and tac pack.
Oh, okay.
Here a few weeks or months ago, and I put that on there. It's actually on my coyote rifle, and I really like that. I may order some for the rest of my rifles. I just never had
a bolt release, a mag release.
The mag release. Oh,
yeah,
I've got a bad lever on a couple, and I'm not a big fan of it.
I just run because it's no matter if you don't have to be perfect. You can just kind of reach and you can release that bolt kind of anywhere you put your thumb in the general area. But as far as me, I've never really. I mean, I've shot them before, but I've never had a larger mag release button on any of my ARs. But I might try one. Jason out there says best AR mag. I mean, it's hard to beat the PMag. I mean, honestly, you can bang those shits to hell, and they're gonna kind of run. I mean, there's probably better stuff out there, but for the price, a PMag's gonna run pretty well. A lot of people say in a Red Dawn scenario, get the old metal mags. I've never been a fan of metal mags. You can get those bent sometimes a little bit, and they can cause issues, especially if you're going to put it through that kind of that hell. That's just me. I think for the money, PMag's good. Let's just run this through real quick. This will be our last question. Toby, best AR mag out there for people looking.
Well, I mean, you keep the military's gone to PMags too. I mean, again, though, there's Hex Mag, the hybrids, a ton Lancers, a ton of them are great, but military trusts PMag. Everybody's trust PMag.
Yeah.
Been around forever.
Yep. Clover, what about you? You have a preference on mags? Are you a mag snob?
Yeah, I go Lancer.
Okay.
Big Lancer fan.
Yep. Absolutely. Snob, what about you?
I've got a ton of all sorts, mainly PMags, but I'll tell you one thing I really like, but you have to find them on sale. I actually bought them at NRA in Dallas, at NRAM in Dallas, cheap. A 6-pack of the Daniel Defense 32-round mags, running them at 30 rounds.
Oh, yeah.
Those are great mags. And they're not that expensive if you find them on a sale. They're just kind of pricey if they're not on sale.
I've never run one. I might have to check those out. So they're pretty good, huh?
I really like them.
So you run them at 30?
I run them at 30, and they're 32-round mags. I mean, I have ran them at 32, fine. I'm just normally when I just leave them loaded, they're at 30.
Let me ask you guys this. On your 30-round mags, do you run them full capacity? I always run mine too short. I always run 28. And now understand, in the military, when I first got in, we had 24-round metal mags. That's what we ran. And we always ran them at 22. So that's just that's how we learned. But in a 30-round mag, I'll only run 28. That's just me. You guys kind of download your mags?
Yeah. I never run max capacity. Yeah.
Yep.
Even on a 20 rounder, I won't run max capacity.
Now on a 30 rounder, I'll run 30. If I'm just going out to shoot them, just blow through ammo at the range.
Yeah.
I will go ahead and load them all the way. But if I'm leaving them loaded for battle wise, they're 28 rounds. Or I don't even think I have any. Well, I've got some loaded, the 28 rounds, but my battle ones are the Daniel Defense 32 rounds. So.
Did you load a 30? But you're
load a 30, so I'm still loading 2 down.
You're too light. Yeah, absolutely. I got you. Toby, what about you?
Yeah, I always download 2.
Yep. And I don't know. That's just something that I just learned in the military. And so I just one of those things that I've always kind of taken to heart. And that's what I've always done. So, I don't know why. It's just something that's how I learned to shoot. So
I can tell you why. I can tell you the physical reason
why.
I
know why, but I mean, I don't do that now because of those reasons, even though there are reasons. I just do it because that's how I've always done it. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead. But yeah, explain to people why, because there might be someone out there that might need to know why not to load them to full capacity.
So
not good to load to full capacity.
Yeah. So it's brand, it's brand, it's brand dependent. So some brands will do it, some brands won't. Some styles, whether they're metal versus polymer magazines, will, and some won't. But if you load them to full capacity, it actually won't allow the bolt catch, or I'm sorry, the magazine catch. It won't catch the magazine. It won't seat correctly. So after that first shot, it has a tendency to fall down, and the gun will stay in the bolt hold open position, and then you're panicking and trying to get everything to work and trying to get it to go. And it can also, like in particularly some of the older PMags, some of the first generations and second generation PMags, even the second one. So that's why we downloaded 28 instead of 29, because the second one, then when you try to jam it back up in there after that first time when it disconnected and fell out, and you try to jam it back up in there, then the bolt release won't drop and fly forward. So it's a mechanical issue.
And I can tell you from my experience in the Marine Corps, like I said, we use initially in boot camp and all that, and all that, we use the 24 round metal mags, and we always loaded a 22. And the reason why we were told, and now I understand what they're saying is once again, we didn't have brand new shit when we were in boot camp or even out in the fleet. We didn't have brand new shit. We had old stuff. And so it's one of those things where we downloaded too, just because the armors couldn't guarantee that at full capacity they would operate sufficiently and efficiently and reliably. So download them too, like you said, the spring in there. You don't know when the last time some of those mags were cleaned. We don't know if those springs, how old those things are. We don't know anything about those springs inside those mags. So kind of what you were saying, to take that threat out of it, we always were taught download 2 should be good to go. And of the malfunctions that we had most of the time, I would say that I don't remember anything happening because of a mag. We happen to have, because in California and overseas, you're around dirt and sand and dust, and that shit's the worst thing for the rifle. So the malfunctions we went through were probably because of dirt, sand, and all of that shit, not the magazine. But yeah, that's why we do it. So JMA, Simplified, brother. Be good. God bless you. We'll see you soon. All right. So guys, this has been 2+ hours. I had no idea until I looked up here and saw this. Great conversation. I loved it. Hope everyone found it somewhat educational and entertaining. I'm going to start with Toby and say, Toby, where can people find you? What you got going on? Go ahead and plug your stuff right now.
Yeah, so obviously all the different media outlets that I'm on, you can find centralized at miningridgearmory.com. Naturally, go like my Facebook page, my YouTube page, check us out over on gear-report.com and all the videos we've got going on there. Of course, I've got reviews going on in the foreseeable future, but over the next few weeks, I'm going to be trying to do a bunch of free training webinars. You know, I've done a free gun new shooter seminar for all this panic rush that everybody's been doing, panic buying that everybody's been doing to try to help educate the community. I did a free webinar on technology-based open source intelligence gathering for the executive protection community. I did that last week. That's still posted up for now on my channel. I haven't taken it down. It's about a 2.5-hour long webinar I did. I'm thinking about doing one this weekend on data recovery and data transmission in non-permissive environments to be able to, again, for the executive protection community or anybody who's military, law enforcement, whatever, that could be operating in a non-permissive environment and need to recover data and or communicate to the outside world in a way that's covert. So I'm probably going to do that. If you'll keep an eye on my Facebook page and on LinkedIn and all that stuff, you'll see me posting up that free webinar probably Sunday at 7 is when I'm going to do that. So
awesome.
Eastern Standard Time, by the way.
Eastern Standard Time. You know, it's what it is. Central's the real standard time.
I mean, that's really kind of a fake time zone, ain't it?
I mean, it's New York, bro. New York's the center of the world, right? I mean, that's literally.
I'm pretty sure Oklahoma's kind of the center of the U.S. anyway.
Right now, if you talk about Netflix, it is right now.
Well, true. I mean, tigers and guns.
Oh shit. Toby, thanks for coming on, brother, and you're always welcome, and awesome having you on. Go check out, put the link out there, miningridgearmory.com. Go check them out. Snob, what you got going on? Tell us where we can find you and what you kind of got some projects coming up.
Yeah, I just put out a video earlier, another episode of This Old Gun. Go to my YouTube page and watch that if you want to. And thanks for having me. It was a fun conversation.
Yeah, it was fun. And gunsnob.net, is that still growing?
I guess. I don't ever go over there. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think it's good.
I put the link
really do need to go over there and update it some, but I'm horrible about that.
I put the link out there, and it seems to be working. So you paid the bill this month.
I mean, it auto pays off my debit card, so it should still be going. That's all I know.
Right, I hear you. Thanks for coming on, and all. I had a great conversation. Clover, what you got going on, man?
Hey man, thanks for the invite. It was a good chat. So after 2 hours of tactical, modern, sporting rifle AR talk,
yeah, I'm surprised you made.
If anybody out there is like me and needs a little bit of FUD now that they've gone through 2 hours of this, drop the Ruger Blackhawk versus the Ruger Vaquero video earlier. So go check out some cool revolvers on that.
And then revolvers were still a thing, bro.
Yeah, and then mentioned. I'm surprised you were even able to find the video. The way that the algorithm, and everything.
As soon as I saw it, I started getting a rash. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I know, right? And then, later on, I've got several videos that'll drop. Been working and been busy on that. And that rest that I posted on Instagram that I built, there'll be some There'll be a video on that soon. So if you're out there looking for an adjustable pistol rest, you got some scrap and supplies around the house, then you might can build you one that looks like a, what did he say? An optometrist tool or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks for the invite. Good show.
It was fun, and thanks again for watching. I hope this guy, like I said, the whole point about this, try to have a little fun, try to be a little educational for people out there, especially the new gunners. And like I said, we've probably all been getting asked or at least emailed or whatever comments on videos about different things, and people are out there, they're buying their first ones. I've had a lot of questions at the range the last week and a half of, why do you have this on there instead of this, or what's this for, and all that. So I figured this is a good time because there are people that may not feel comfortable or confident in asking questions. If you're out there, please ask questions to anyone that you find. You'll find that most people are open to answering. And if you have time, we love talking guns. But if you're not that person that really feels comfortable in asking questions, maybe something like this helps. So we can answer them for you and all of that stuff. So thank you for coming on. What in the world did you put there, Clover?
Well, my wife put that question out there, and I don't know. There may be some people asking that, but she said, "What makes an AR an AR-15?" It's a real obvious question, isn't it?
It is. Go for it. Since it's your wife.
I don't want to mansplain to my wife. I'll defer to Toby.
She doesn't listen to him. Clearly,
she'll listen to Toby though. We'll let Toby explain.
All right, Toby, you go for it then.
The Armalite Model 15, is that what you're talking about? It's actually an AR-14 though, so you tell her that I said so. It's AR-14. Don't let anybody tell her any different because I said so.
I didn't see that question actually, so yeah. The AR people out there, and everyone in there knows this. The AR is not standing for assault rifle. If you're new, it means Armalite rifle, and Armalite was the first company. What is it, like 59, 58, somewhere in the 50s? Eugene Stoner, right? Created the Armalite, and it's AR means Armalite rifle, not assault rifle. So, people out there that you've been told your whole life that means an assault rifle, negative. It means Armalite rifle.
Yeah, I'm not sure what she's getting at. I mean, with
I don't know
with the question. Everybody, but I think I might get the premise. It's because everybody says, "Oh, I got an AR, I got an AR," and it may be an AR-9, and it may be an AR-10, and it may be an AR-15, or it may be an AR-7, or it may be you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so if somebody has that, an AR is not an AR, is not an AR. The AR-15 is the 15th variation, of course.
Correct.
And originally chambered for 5.56, 223. But can also host what? How many, Toby? A bunch of other alternative calibers.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah, you can use that. You can use that lower interchangeably with different barrels and oh my God, yeah.
And now the magazines that are out there, you can still use that 223 lower and have a magazine that will put a 9mm barrel and upper in there. You can still use that same lower for 9mm. So
that's kind of weird. You could in effect turn an AR-15 into an AR-9, right? Which is kind of weird.
You're going to hear two different things: an AR-9 or a PCC. AR-9 means a 9mm, but you hear PCC is a pistol caliber carbine. You're talking handgun calibers, 380, 9mm, 40 Smith, 45 ACP, and even some Magnum calibers. We run through those things. You hear AR-10. That's basically based off a 308 chambered. It'll be more powerful, maybe a longer range rifle. So you hear AR-10 doesn't mean it's a 10mm. It means it's based off the 30 caliber, the 308 caliber. So it's going to be a heavier, longer range rifle. It's still.
Can we explain the difference between DPMS pattern and? No, I'm just kidding.
Holy Jesus! I'm going to knock you out.
That's a show for another night. Yeah, that's a show for another night. That's like 3 shows.
What's strange is that you hear AR-15 far more than you hear talk about AR-10, and AR-15 is more popular, I would say, across the board than AR-10, but yet. The AR-10, being the 10, not the 15, came first.
That's right. Now, G23 says I thought it's good for automatic rifle. I don't know if he's kidding or not, but that was something that probably a lot of people think as well. No, it was the brand. Armalite it was Armalite rifle is what AR stands for. God, we could be here all night. I really think. Thanks, by the way, Gary. Gary's gonna pimp my shit out there. If you want to support us on Patreon, we'd love to have you. Thank you, all my patrons. Thank you so much. But Tara out there says single or double point sling for an AR pistol, 10.5-inch barrel for someone who was a bit top heavy. I'm wondering about fit. AR pistol. I tell you what I would probably do is if you can find, they're out there, I would get a 2-point sling that can convert into a single point. I'm a big fan of 2-point. I don't like running a single point only sling. To me, it's not stable enough. I just don't like the feel of it. Now, if that's something you're comfortable with, it all comes down to preference. If you like it, then run it. If you're going to be accurate with it, you're going to be proficient with that sling, run it. Don't let me tell you otherwise. I personally like a 2-point sling, but there are a lot of great options out there that you can convert that 2-point sling into a 1-point sling so you have the best of both worlds. What do you guys think? Go for it.
I like a 3-point. I'm going to be different here. I mean, I do. I just do. I like.
Yeah, no, I hear you. What you got, Snob? You're muted or something.
No, he's just.
No, his microphone.
There
you go.
Yeah, I didn't realize that one was muted. I looked at that one and made sure it wasn't muted. I guess whenever I got up, I pushed that one so I didn't make a ton of noise and then forgot about it. This is a 2-point or a single point with QD mounts. Yep. QD mounts are the best thing in this world.
You got to do QD mounts, honestly. Yeah, absolutely. No matter what.
And there's a company out there, with your sling mounts or whatever. There's a couple out there that make some like carabiner style quick detach hooks that I've seen. I've got a couple of.
McLean's got a great one out there.
I got a couple of just regular nylon 2-point slings, and I forgot where I even picked them up, and they were cheap on some website somewhere, and it was the company that made them. I'm gonna have to research that. I think I got 4 of them for like $12 shipped. 4 of the little clips, and you just put those on a regular sling, and you can, if you double them up, you've got a single point, or you can just use them quick detach at 2 different points to have a 2-point. They're pretty neat.
I do want to say something. There's something I didn't bring up last time, and I'm sorry I'm keeping you. If you guys need to leave, go ahead. But this is fascinating. I love talking this shit. One thing I do want to bring up before we leave about a sling. In a Red Dawn shit hits the fan situation, remember a sling could be a medical help as well. You can turn it into a tourniquet. So that's one of the other reasons why if you're going to have a battle rifle, make sure it has a sling. You might never have to use it, but that could be a really, really, really good battlefield tourniquet as well. So,
another coming from a flood situation with a sling. You can also hang ammo on a sling and all kinds of other things. So it gives you room. Many of my bolt rifles have slings that hold, good Lord, 6 to 8 to even 10 rounds on the sling.
The old school leather ones. I've got a few of those with the pad, and then on the pad it has your places for your round.
Yep, absolutely. So you got extra ammunition.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're going to cut it off there. No more questions. I'll be here for another hour and a half. I love this shit. But no, thanks everyone for watching. Like I said, I hope we've been somewhat educational and somewhat entertaining. I do know that some serious shit is happening in our world, in our country right now, and I don't want to make light of that at all. Be with your family, be safe out there. But sometimes I think that people need a relaxation break. They need a break from all of the bad shit and the seriousness. If we can have a little fun, laugh and joke and be a little entertaining while maybe passing out some great information, that's what the goal of this podcast is. We like to have fun. We'll laugh at ourselves. We'll degrade ourselves. We'll try to give information that might be helpful to someone out there. But I don't want to, dismiss the fact that there is some serious shit going on in our country and in the world. So we hope everyone's safe out there. And, I'm not one of those guys that the sky is falling, but I will say this: practice social distancing if possible. I'm not saying hunker down in your house and never leave, but if you go out there, be safe, not just because you don't want to get sick, but you don't want to get sick. Be safe, be smart, and all of that stuff. Thank you so much for watching live. If you're watching a replay or in podcast form, let us know. One of the questions we're talking about is our battle rifles, our shit hits the fan, our Red Dawn rifles loadout. In the comment section below, let us know what your loadout is on your rifles. I would love to kind of hear what people are running and all of that. So, guys, thank you so much. We love you guys. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week. We had a great show next week. Next Tuesday, we have Joshua Prince. If you guys don't know Joshua Prince, he is a civil rights and Second Amendment attorney out of Pennsylvania. He's had an interesting experience. He took on the governor of Pennsylvania to get gun shops to be named essential by the governor. After the governor had come out and said they are not essential, he got that overturned. He and Adam Kraut. But for legalities and all that, it's going to be fun to have Joshua here to talk about 2A rights and 2A law. So if you guys are interested, make sure you tune in next week. We'll have Josh here, and it's going to be a great conversation. So, guys, thank you so much for everything. We'll see you soon. Semper Fi.